My sister-in-law spoils her son rotten. I warned her that sparing the rod spoils the child, but she went and told my brother I was just jealous she had a son. When her son grew up, he turned into a destructive menace, just as predicted, yet my sister-in-law was brimming with pride. My boy has such spirit for his age. You're all just jealous, fearing he'd cause harm to others. I did my best to discipline him. My sister-in-law goaded her son. Your aunt has wanted you dead since you were in the womb. If you want to make someone suffer, go make her suffer. Later, that child took his revenge and pushed me down the stairs to my death. When the police came, the whole family played dumb and covered for him. Given a second chance, my sister-in-law was boasting triumphantly, my son is so strong and robust, he's sure to land a cushy government job one day. I gave a cold, scornful laugh. How is a lifetime of prison meals not considered a secure job? 1. You're saying the deceased jumped on their own. Did you see it with your own eyes? Yes, that's right. My husband can vouch for it. My sister-in-law answered the police's questions with unwavering certainty, all the while shooting a meaningful glance at my brother, Henry. My brother's gaze shifted away from my bloodied corpse, and he nodded blankly. That's right. Our whole family can testify. When my sister jumped from the building, my son was at home reading. He wasn't at the scene. The police officer looked toward the 20-year-old boy being shielded in his grandparents' arms. The young man was far taller and bulkier than his peers, with a large, robust build. His face carried the puffy fat of someone who had been overfed, and he had narrow, single-lidded eyes with a sullen, upward-tilting gaze. His hair was cut in a close-cropped buzz cut. He is the only son of my brother and sister-in-law, and the sole grandson, Felix, whom my parents doted on. Before the police could even ask a question, my parents shielded their grandson behind them. They kept telling the police how well-behaved and obedient their grandson usually was, while instead slandering me, saying I had a strange personality, that studying psychology had driven me insane, and then I had jumped off the building myself. The villagers watching on the side shook their heads and sighed. But no one dared to step forward and speak the truth. The police investigation yielded no results, and the case was ultimately ruled as an accidental fall from the building. On the day my body was brought home, Felix walked over, saw no one was around, and kicked my already rigid head, knocking it sideways. Dead bitch. Huh. You fell so hard your insides are mush. How thrilling. That's for not letting me play games. For always bossing me around. He kept kicking and stomping until his father, Henry, noticed and stepped in to stop him. My sister-in-law rushed over as well, pulling Felix away and scolding him. Don't you find it bad luck to touch a dead person? Henry gently straightened my head. Little sister, I'm sorry. Your brother only has this one son. There was no other choice. Please, don't blame me, and don't blame our parents, too, with eyes that would not close in death. I watched coldly as the Zhao family shielded the murderer, knowing full well how I had died. In their quest for a son, my brother and his wife aborted 2 female fetuses. Their third pregnancy finally yielded a boy, whom they named Felix. In this family, a male heir was considered priceless. From the moment he was born, Felix became the family's treasure. Spoiled rotten, he learned at a very young age to throw tantrums and hit people to get his way. I couldn't stand it anymore and warned my sister-in-law. Spoiling a child is like killing them, with only a middle school education. She completely missed the deeper meaning. She shot me a dirty look, then buried her face in my brother's chest and sobbed. How vicious. She actually wants to kill our only son. Your sister is just jealous that I gave you a son. She's afraid he'll get a share of the family inheritance. My parents also pointed at me and scolded. Can't you ever wish for something good? Why are you so set against your own nephew? How did we raise such a spiteful daughter? I was only a sophomore in high school back then, and no one in the family paid any attention to what I said. Every time Felix got into trouble, my sister-in-law wouldn't scold him. Instead, she'd clap her hands and cheer. My son is so manly, he's sure to land a stable, lifelong job when he grows up. He'll protect his mom and dad. People will be so envious. With my brother and sister-in-law's relentless spoiling and indulgence, Felix started resorting to violence to solve his problems. I'm his aunt, and I'm the only one in this house who ever tries to teach him right from wrong. I majored in educational psychology in college, so I know all too well how damaging the wrong teaching methods can be to a child's future. Because I don't give in to his every whim, he often throws things at me, leaving me covered in bruises. Yet, my brother and sister-in-law have never once stepped in to correct him. In fact, they privately encourage his behavior. Using his aunt as a free punching bag is good practice. He won't get pushed around when he's out in the real world. That's the twisted logic my sister-in-law is so proud of. The year Felix came of age, his family scraped together every last penny to send him, with his less than stellar college entrance exam score of 400, to a private, second-tier university during his sophomore year. Felix threw a lit firecracker into a classmate's desk, a student from a poor family. The explosion cost the boy and I, leaving him permanently disabled, and Felix's family had to pay 200,000 yuan in compensation. Later, I stumbled upon the disturbing fact that he had started playing one of those banned, ultra-violent horror games. He was completely absorbed in it, spending his days torturing the virtual characters. I took the game away from him very sternly and gave him a proper dressing down. The way he looked at me was downright hostile, as if I were his sworn enemy. My brother, his wife, and even my parents all jumped to his defense, saying it's only natural for boys to love video games and that I should mind my own business. I didn't want to interfere either, but watching my brother and sister-in-law ruin Felix with their misguided parenting was too much. If he grows up like this, he's more likely to cause harm to others when he enters society. Given my background in psychology and a basic sense of social responsibility, I couldn't just stand by and do nothing. During summer vacation, Felix called me in a panic, saying he was cornered and being bullied by a bunch of thugs at a construction site. My first thought was that he must have picked a fight with the wrong crowd, but he's still my nephew. I couldn't just abandon him, so I rushed to the construction site. It was an abandoned concrete building in the village, about 5 stories tall. When I reached the rooftop, Felix suddenly pushed me from behind. He stood on the rooftop watching me fall, his eyes brimming with the savage joy of revenge. In that moment, I felt like an NPC he just slaughtered in a game. The first person to find me after the fall was my sister-in-law. After Felix pushed me down the stairs, he calmly called his mom. "Mom, didn't you say she's been trying to kill me since the womb?" Well, I got to her first. 3. I never thought I'd wake up again. My phone kept ringing. I answered the call without thinking. Felix's voice came through. "Auntie, I'm cornered by some thugs near the concrete building. They're going to beat me up. Can you come save me?" A chill ran down my spine. I glanced at the time on my computer. I had actually been reborn back to the day I was pushed off the building. Felix's voice kept coming from the phone. Suppressing a wave of overwhelming hatred, I said, "Okay. I'll be right there to save you. I'll be waiting for you." There was a creepy excitement in Felix's plea for help. In my past life, I hadn't picked up on it at all. Now that I'm reliving this, there's no way I'm letting him get away with it. After hanging up, I rushed to the kitchen and said to my sister-in-law, who was stewing chicken soup for her son, "Sis, Felix says he's been cornered at the concrete building. You should go check on him right away." "What happened?" "If anyone dares lay a finger on my son, I'll fight them to the death." As soon as my sister-in-law Sharon heard, she hurriedly untied her apron. The sun was blazing outside. Just before she left, I made a point of saying, "Sharon, it's so sunny out. Why don't you wear my sun protection jacket? You know, the one that costs $600. Haven't you always wanted to try it on?" A few years back, my brother and his wife lost hundreds of thousands cleaning up the mess their wonderful son Felix made. Now, Sharon's really feeling the pinch. Every time she sees me in a nice outfit, she always asks how much it cost. The moment she hears it was $600 or $700, she'll start muttering about me wasting money, all while her hands can't help but reach out to feel the fabric. She was all too eager for me to hand over all my money to her husband and son. In her eyes, an unmarried sister like me was obligated to support her brother's family. Given a second chance, I saw right through her intentions. Sure enough, the moment she heard how expensive that sun protective jacket was, she turned right back, saying I'd finally come to my senses. She slipped on the jacket I usually wore. I watched her hurriedly departing figure and gave a cold laugh. If Felix accidentally pushes his own mother down the stairs, that's just the karmic retribution they deserve. You reap what you sow. In this lifetime, I'll respect this family's fate and won't meddle in their affairs. In less than half an hour, Peter from the village entrance came running over, shouting, "It's terrible. There's been an accident at the concrete building. Someone's fallen." I feigned panic and hurried briskly to the concrete building, only to see a person lying on a pile of sand below, with blood seeping out around them. I leaned in for a closer look, and my pupils contracted in shock. What in the world? The person who was pushed off the building wasn't my sister-in-law. It was, lying on the sand pile was a young girl. Her clothes were stained with blood and grime, and a disfiguring scar marred her right eye. My heart sank. How could this be? How did she become the one who fell? In my past life, when I fell, I landed directly on the hard concrete. My internal organs ruptured beyond saving. The girl was luckier than me. She fell onto a sand pile. The soft sand cushioned her fall and saved her life. Look at her pants. She must have been assaulted. A shrill male voice cut through the crowd. I couldn't pinpoint its source, but his words made me notice. The girl's trousers had been pulled down past her hips, and there were fresh bloodstains on the fabric. A chill ran through me. Had she suffered other humiliations before she fell? I scrambled onto the sand pile, took off my jacket, and draped it over her lower body, fearing she might have broken bones. I didn't dare move her. Her eyes were still open, vacant and unseeing. Unsure of what else to do, I gently cradled her forehead in my hand and whispered to her, "Don't be scared, I'm right here." Following her gaze, I scanned the rooftop. There was no sign of Felix, not even my sister-in-law. 5 police cars and ambulances arrived one after another. When the medics took the girl for emergency treatment, I got into the ambulance with them. The attending physician asked me while performing CPR, "What's the victim's name?" "Kaylee." She was the impoverished female student who lost an eye to a firecracker set off by Felix a year ago. I had no idea why she was in this building, or why she was pushed off the landing in my place, left lying in a pool of her own blood. I waited outside the emergency room for 3 hours before the attending physician finally came out. "Are you related to the patient?" "My sister," I blurted out. The doctor sighed. "Your sister suffered a head injury and has 10 fractures throughout her body. She's stable for now after the emergency treatment, but there's a chance she could fall into a coma and become vegetative." I was just grateful she was alive. "What about the blood on her pants?" I asked urgently. "I know what you're worried about, but don't panic. That blood is from her period. There are no signs of physical abuse on her body," the attending physician said thoughtfully. "If there had been, there would likely be semen evidence, which could actually help us find her attacker. But now she's in a coma and can't identify anyone. Finding the perpetrator is going to be very difficult." Just then, a middle-aged man reeking of alcohol barged in, demanding to see his daughter. I recognized him immediately as Kaylee's stepfather, Luke. When my brother and his wife had to compensate for Kaylee's eye injury, I learned about her background. She had moved with her mother into the home of an alcoholic stepfather after her mother passed away from illness. Kaylee was left to live under his roof, often going hungry and unable to afford even basic sanitary products. After the compensation of $200,000 was paid, the court also ordered my brother and his wife to provide Kaylee with a monthly living allowance of 500 yuan. That's the only reason Felix avoided jail time. Doing the math, it's around the beginning of the month now. Time for Felix to give Kaylee her money, upon seeing his daughter severely injured and unconscious. Luke immediately asked the doctor how much compensation they could get. The doctor informed him that the perpetrator was still under investigation and that Kaylee's medical bills needed to be settled first. The moment Luke heard he wouldn't get any money and would actually have to pay the hospital, he immediately pretended to be drunk and stumbled off, shouting, "She's not even my kid. Why should I care if she lives or dies?" I asked the doctor what the chances were of Kaylee regaining consciousness. Given her family's situation, the hospital can only afford to use cheaper medications for her. They'll keep her stable, but the odds of her waking up aren't great, the doctor explained, looking troubled. "There's a new drug overseas specifically for cases like this. If we could use it, the patient might have a chance of waking up within 6 months, but as you saw, her father would never foot the bill for that." "Put Kaylee on the new drug," I said. "I'll cover all the costs." The doctor kindly reminded me, "I should let you know, the patient's medical expenses will be around 100,000 per month. It's not a small sum, so you need to think it over carefully. That cost is nothing to me," I said resolutely. "I want Kaylee to wake up, so I can personally see to it that whoever hurt her ends up in prison." The attending physician looked at me intently, then removed his mask, revealing a handsome, youthful face. "All right, I'll give this patient my special attention. My name is Sean." I gave a faint smile. "Hello, dear Sean. My name is Zoe. Please keep the fact that Kaylee can wake up a secret for me, dear Sean." Without asking further questions, Sean agreed solemnly. I transferred 200,000 in one go to the hospital's account to cover Kaylee's medical expenses. On the way home, I had a lot on my mind. I wondered if what happened to Kaylee today was a butterfly effect caused by my rebirth. Did she become the victim in my place because I managed to escape? It's possible, but I'm not foolish enough to blame myself for what happened to Kaylee. The real culprit is someone else entirely. As soon as I got to the front door, I heard Felix saying to his mom, "I didn't think she'd actually fall. From that height, the blood really does splatter, just like in the game." My sister-in-law grabbed Felix and pressed him. "Are you sure you didn't touch her?" "No way. Her pants were all stained from her period. Who'd want to touch that? It's disgusting. She came today to get that $500 from me. I saw her pants were dirty, so I just yanked them from behind. She got scared, screamed, and lost her footing. She fell all by herself," my sister-in-law said with righteous indignation. "So she fell on her own. It's got nothing to do with us. Can't even use a pad properly. That girl, you didn't just blind her with that firecracker. You must have scrambled her brains too." 6. The mother and son seemed to find the whole thing so amusing that they were startled when I appeared at the front door. "When did you get back?" "Just now." I kept a straight face and looked at Felix, who was being shielded by his mother. "I thought someone was bullying you. Did your mom go and sort it out?" My sister-in-law avoided my gaze, looking guilty. It's been handled." Felix shouted at me. "I asked you to come help me. Why did you send my mom?" I sneered. "Your mother is still alive. Why should I be the one to look after you?" My sister-in-law snapped. "Zoe, watch your tone." I shot her a glance. "Sis-in-Law, where's my sun jacket?" She was taken aback. "It's gone. It got snatched by those thugs when I went to save Felix. It's just a piece of clothing. Do you really have to make a big deal out of it?" "Fine, I'll pay you back." "All right then. That jacket was 600. You can transfer the money." Seeing I was serious, she immediately started wailing and slapping her thigh. "We're family and you're nickel and diming me. I'm telling your brother tonight. Let him see what a petty, heartless sister he has." Her little scene brought my mother over. After hearing what happened, Mom's first concern was whether her precious grandson was hurt. Then she scolded me for being obsessed with money, making a fuss over a single piece of clothing with my sister-in-law. Now that you've made something of yourself and have money, you should be thinking about helping your brother and his family. You need to put some effort into your brother's house purchase. And Felix is about to take his postgraduate entrance exams. He's the hope of our family. You figure out a way to get him into that prestigious university you're at, otherwise, you're just being an unfilial child. That kind of talk might have worked on me from a past life. Now, listening to her spout this nonsense, I really wanted to slap her across the face, but I kept my expression neutral. I just glanced at Felix and noticed the watch on his wrist was gone. "Felix, where's your watch?" Felix immediately covered his wrist. "None of your business." I suddenly brought it up. "Felix, didn't you say you were at the concrete building? A female student fell from there. I went to take a look, and she seemed to be your classmate." "You mean you didn't see anything?" Felix exchanged a look with his mother, then shot me a brazen, dismissive glare. "I have no idea what you're barking about." "Mom, didn't you say you made chicken soup for me? Where is it? I need some right now to calm my nerves." My sister-in-law and my mother immediately went to the kitchen to prepare the chicken soup. You just pushed someone down the stairs, leaving them covered in blood, and now you have the appetite for chicken soup. I stared coldly at Felix's figure. If I don't see him sent to prison to suffer, I'll have failed my past self who died a miserable death. 7. After finishing his chicken soup, Felix sat in the living room playing those violent video games. The noise woke my dad from his nap, and he came out to speak to him gently. "Felix, the postgraduate entrance exam is only a few months away. Don't waste any more time. How about you go study for a bit now and play your games tonight?" Felix kept his eyes glued to the game projected on the screen, not even glancing at my dad. My dad then walked over and stood right in front of the screen, blocking his view. "Go and study for a while." Before he could even finish speaking, Felix hurled his game controller straight at his grandfather's forehead. With a sickening thud, it drew a few drops of blood. My dad clutched his forehead in pain, but instead of scolding his grandson, he turned his anger on me, who was sitting on the couch playing with my phone. "Can't you see your father's bleeding? Go get a bandage." "Now, Felix is your own nephew. Can't you, as his aunt, discipline him?" Discipline. In my past life, I genuinely put effort into disciplining him, only to end up covered in bruises from all the objects Felix hurled at me. Getting hit by a game controller was mild. Once, when I urged him to do his homework, he turned around and threw a vase at me. The shattering vase sent fragments flying, one of which cut my cheek. It nearly left a scar. Not a single person in the family stood up to criticize Felix. Instead, the whole lot of them sat around the dinner table making snide remarks about me, saying I had no tact and shouldn't have provoked their precious boy. To this day, I still remember exactly what my father said. "Felix is your nephew. As the elder, you should be tolerant and give way to him unconditionally. That's the poise and grace expected of a top student like you. So what if your face gets scarred? It's not like you rely on your looks to seduce men. What are you so afraid of in this life?" It wasn't until the game controller hit him on the head that he finally understood what pain felt like. I said to my dad with a laugh, "Dad, Felix is your precious grandson. As the elder, you should be tolerant and accommodating. Getting hit and bleeding by him is practically an honor." I slammed my bedroom door shut, cutting off the stream of curses from the two of them, and happily enjoyed the peace and quiet. My combat coach texted me back, saying we could start training tonight. After being reborn, I spent $20,000 to sign up for an intensive Sanda, Chinese kickboxing course. I had some foundation from dabbling in boxing back in university. Talking a big game feels good, but when dealing with true villains, sometimes fighting fire with fire is the only way. 8. As an adult, Felix had been spoiled into a violent maniac by his older brother and sister-in-law. Living under the same roof with him is a risky proposition. There's no way I'm moving out, after all. I'm the one who paid for this big house where my parents, brother, and sister-in-law all live. If anyone's living under someone else's roof in this family, it's my parents and my brother's family living under mine. If anyone should be kicked out, it's them, out of my house. Felix has a hot temper and is prone to making mistakes, but my brother and sister-in-law have always bailed him out by paying to fix his messes. There was no point dredging up the past. Kaylee was still unconscious, and I was racking my brain for a way to get Felix handed over to the police when his school counselor suddenly called. Felix put razor blades in a classmate's steamed bun. The kid took a couple of bites and cut his throat to ribbons. He's been rushed to the emergency room. I grabbed my phone and raced to the hospital. Outside the ER, Sean was there too. He's a doctor at this hospital, but this time he wasn't wearing his white coat. My brother, his wife, and Felix were also outside the ER. 2 police officers were keeping an eye on the family of 3, who were being uncharacteristically quiet and well-behaved. Soon, the doctor emerged from the emergency room. He looked at Sean first. "Sean, your brother's throat was severely cut. While it won't affect his ability to speak normally going forward, he won't be able to sing for the next year." Sean's face darkened. He rushed forward, grabbed Felix by the collar, and roared at him. "You knew he was a music student. How dare you ruin his voice, Felix said with cold-blooded calm. He's the one who chose to eat the bun. What does it have to do with me if there was a razor blade inside? Sean's eyes reddened, and he clenched his fists. The more upset and angry he became, the more smug Felix grew. Hey there, big guy, he taunted. The police are right here. You lay a hand on me, and you'll pay for it. Knowing my brother and sister-in-law's shameless nature, if Sean so much as laid a finger on Felix, they'd turn around and bite back in an instant. Dear Sean, calm down, don't do it. Sean glared at me. How can you expect me to calm down? That's my own brother lying in there. What I mean is, don't you lift a finger, I'll handle this. No sooner had the words left my mouth than I drove my fist into Felix's smug face. The punch sent Felix crashing into the wall, 2 streams of blood trickling from his nose. He stared at me in shock, clearly not expecting his meek, bullied little sister-in-law to suddenly throw a punch. My brother and sister-in-law, who had been silent until now, finally erupted, shouting about how I dared to hit someone. Even the police officer tried to stop me. Ma'am, calm down, don't make a scene right now. I shook my fist, which was about the size of a casserole pot, and said with a laugh, Officer, I'm the boy's aunt. An aunt disciplining her nephew is a family matter, not against the law, right? 9. I gave Felix a proper beating, leaving him with a bloody nose and tears streaming down his face. Only then did Sean's rage begin to subside, and he calmed down. My brother will identify who did this. He's not unconscious. Sean's brother, Andy, was wheeled out in a chair. His neck was wrapped in bandages, and he looked terribly weak. Yet, with a meaningful look, he signaled to his brother that he could testify. So the officer asked, Did Felix give you the bun? Andy couldn't speak, but he blinked in affirmation. Andy gave clear responses to the officer's series of meticulous questions. Felix's expression gradually darkened. Who did this to you? That was the police officer's final question. Andy's hand pointed at Felix without a moment's hesitation. Felix, who had just been playing the obedient role in front of the police, suddenly flew into a rage. Even his brother and sister-in-law couldn't restrain him. Cursing violently, he lunged at Andy to attack him. In his mind, resorting to physical violence was the way to make everyone obey, a twisted lesson drilled into him by his parents' overindulgent upbringing. The police officer and Sean worked together to restrain and pin him down. Startled by the commotion, Andy's surgical neck wound began to bleed again, prompting the doctors to rush him back into the emergency room. The situation is clear, the officer stated sternly to Felix. You are suspected of assault. You're coming with us to the station. Wait. Henry suddenly blurted out, I did it. It was me. My son brought the buns from home, but I was the one who put the razor blade inside. My son had nothing to do with it. He didn't know a thing. My brother was taking the blame. Right now, he must think he's being a heroic father. 10. My brother was taken to the police station, while Felix was brought home safely by his aunt. As soon as he got home, he sat in the living room playing those video games. His aunt, still shaken, said, Your father was taken by the police because of you. How can you just sit there gaming? Felix kept his eyes glued to the screen. It's not like I asked him to take the fall for me. My parents looked utterly miserable, while frantically calling relatives to help bail out their son. They turned to their eldest grandson and asked in a pleading tone, Felix, tell us, what did this classmate do to upset you this time? You've landed your own father in jail? Felix, still playing his video game, scoffed dismissively. Andy's a total wimp. What kind of grown man screeches and wails like that all day long? He just gets on my nerves. Slit his throat, and he won't be making any more noise. My sister-in-law clearly wanted to give him a piece of her mind, but Felix shot her a glare, and she immediately swallowed her words. Deep down, she knew exactly what kind of man her son was. She was counting on him to support her in her old age, so she didn't dare provoke him now, for fear he'd hold a grudge and take it out on her when she was elderly and vulnerable. The detention center. I was the only one who came to see Henry. When Henry saw me, his face darkened as he barked an order. Don't you teach at a top university? Doesn't your psychology clinic have all those high-profile clients? Use your connections and get me out of here. I gave him a cold stare and scoffed. You are the one so eager to take the blame and confess. Who could possibly save you? For intentional assault, as long as the Sean family keeps pressing charges, you're looking at a minimum of 3 years. Do you think your son is moved by this grand sacrifice of yours? I took out my phone and played a video I had recorded in the living room. My sister-in-law pleaded with Felix to come with her to the detention center to see his father. Felix snapped irritably, Don't interrupt my game. If that old man wanted to play the hero, he can just stay in there. Mom, you're still quite a looker. Why don't you find yourself a rich man and remarry? Let me live the high life for once. Henry gripped the bars of the detention cell in fury, unable to believe these were the words coming from the son he had cherished for 20 years. That little bastard, how could he be so heartless? It's not like you just found out he has no conscience. You've seen with your own eyes how he's treated everyone around him all these years. You've covered for him time and again. This rotten attitude of his, you, dear brother, spoiled him into it with your own 2 hands. I leaned back in my chair, taking in Henry's disheveled state and regret. When your son hurt others, you didn't feel the pain. Now that the shoe is on the other foot, You finally understand how it tastes. You made your bed, now lie in it. I won't save you. I rose from the chair and, before leaving, made sure to give him a little hope. You won't be alone for long. Soon, I'll have your whole family of 3 reunited. In prison, 11, my brother was a freeloader off our parents until he was 30, and then he started mooching off me, his sister, so him going to prison wasn't exactly the collapse of the family's main support. My sister-in-law only cried for a few days before she threw herself into helping Felix prepare for his postgraduate entrance exams. My sister-in-law was convinced her son would make something of himself, even though he was a poor student who ranked at the very bottom of his second-tier college. With her husband locked up, she pinned all her hopes on her son, but 1 month before the grad school entrance exam, Kaylee woke up. My sister-in-law urgently asked me to drive her and Felix to the hospital. They had no idea I was the one who had paid the 300,000 yuan to keep Kaylee's medical care going. My sister-in-law was in a panic. From the back seat of my car, Felix muttered viciously, "Why didn't she die from the fall? How could she still be alive?" When we arrived at the hospital, before getting out of the car, I reminded the mother and son in the back seat, pushing someone down the stairs is attempted murder if the victim identifies the culprit. That person could be looking at 10 years behind bars. Sister-in-law, how many decades does a person really have? I drove the point home, making my meaning perfectly clear. If this really has something to do with Felix, he won't just do time. He'll have a criminal record when he gets out. Oh, how can someone with a record ever amount to anything? My sister-in-law turned deathly pale at my words. Before entering the hospital room, my sister-in-law was still plotting how to threaten the girl into keeping quiet, but the moment she pushed the door open, she found the room packed with police officers and doctors. My sister-in-law stood frozen in the doorway, clutching Felix's hand. Too afraid to go in, I raised my high heel and gave a forceful kick, sending the mother and son tumbling right into the police's line of sight. Kaylee also spotted the mother and son. A female police officer asked gently, "Kaylee, don't be afraid. Tell me, was it one of them who pushed you down the stairs that day?" Kaylee had just regained consciousness and could only move her head slightly. She glanced at her sister-in-law and Felix, raising a finger as if to point them out. Suddenly, her sister-in-law's knees buckled, and she fell to the floor. "Officer, it was me that day. I'm the one who pushed her from behind. I confess. The policewoman, who had already done her homework, shot a look at Felix and warned the sister-in-law. "Shielding a murderer is also a crime. Don't think becoming a mother puts you above the law." The sister-in-law pulled a blood-stained garment from the bag. I took a closer look. Wasn't that my sun protection jacket? When Kaylee fell, she managed to pull the watch right off Felix's wrist. My sister-in-law arrived just in time to witness the whole thing. She climbed the sand pile to retrieve her son's watch, staining her clothes with blood in the process. I walked to the bedside and asked Kaylee if she had gotten a clear look at the person who pushed her that day. Kaylee shook her head and stammered, "From behind. Pushed me. I didn't see clearly, but that day, it was Felix. He asked me to meet him on the roof, to get $500. The police took the sun protective jacket back to the station for testing and ultimately confirmed that the bloodstains were Kaylee's. When his sister-in-law confessed, Felix remained silent the entire time, not uttering a single word, as innocent as a ghost. In the end, Sharon got her wish and went to prison in her son's place. 12. When I visited her in prison, she had already become haggard and disheveled, because in court, Felix personally testified that it was his mother who pushed the girl down the stairs that day, even though my sister-in-law willingly took the blame, to be so readily pointed out by her own son. How could her heart not turn cold? I sat across from her and told her, "I'm the one paying for Kaylee's medical bills. I instructed the doctors to use the best and most expensive new drugs. Also, she would wake up as soon as possible and identify the real culprit who harmed her. It's you. It was you all along." My sister-in-law shot up from her chair, lunging at me, only to be shouted down and shoved back into her seat by the prison guard. I smirked. "I know Felix pushed that girl. And I know it was your little monster of a son who put the razor blade in the bun. You and your husband were both so eager to take the fall for him. How noble." My sister-in-law glared at me. She had the same pale, upturned eyes, and Felix bore a striking resemblance to her. I met my sister-in-law's venomous gaze. "The person I hate most is actually Felix. He's the one who truly deserves to die. But do you know why I haven't gone to the authorities to expose you for taking the fall for him? Because the way Felix turned out, you and your husband are half to blame. I want you to suffer the most tangible punishment possible." My sister-in-law looked at me with a bitter, wretched laugh. "It's easy to criticize when it's not your own child. You've never been a mother, so you have no idea what it means to be connected heart and soul to your son. Back then, when you said sparing the rod spoils the child, weren't you just trying to get me to kill my own boy?" I could only think how stupid and vicious she was. That saying about sparing the rod was me advising you not to spoil your child rotten, and you took it as me wanting you to kill him. Ever since you married into this family, you've been scheming for the Zhao family fortune. If you'd put half that cunning into your studies, you wouldn't fail to understand something so plain and simple. No, I said, looking coldly at the woman before me. The one who truly killed your son is you, sister-in-law. It was your coddling and indulgence that killed your precious son. That's how I showed my love for him. My sister-in-law cut me off, demanding loudly, "Is it wrong for me to love my own child? Then what about other people's children? What did that girl do wrong? The one your son blinded with a firecracker and pushed down the stairs. What did that boy who loved to sing do wrong? Your son's life is a life. Are the lives of other children not lives?" My question made her hang her head in shame. "You and my brother have never fulfilled the most basic duties of parents. A child starts as a blank slate, and it was your indulgence that turned that slate into worthless scrap. Spoiling a child is like killing them. That's a lesson you still haven't learned to this day, but don't be too upset. Soon enough, your son will be joining you in prison." "What are you doing, Zoe? What are you trying to do? That's your own nephew." My sister-in-law was completely panicked. I stood up and left with a cool demeanor, but deliberately turned back before going. "Didn't you say, sister-in-law, that your son was guaranteed a government job when he grew up?" I smiled gently. "Well, a lifetime of prison meals is a pretty secure government job, isn't it? 13, with both parents in prison. Felix has been keeping a much lower profile these past few days, but I know it's just an act. He's got a real flair for the dramatic. I'm sure he can keep up the good boy act for a few days." Sure enough, in less than 2 weeks, his true colors showed again. This time, though, he turned his torment from strangers to my parents. He knows hurting an outsider would land him in jail. There's no one left to take the fall for him now. He doesn't dare mess with me either. That punch I gave him at the hospital last time really knocked some sense into him. He's a bully who only picks on the weak. Now that he knows I'm not as easy to push around as before, he's learned to look out for his own skin, so he's turned his temper and his hands on my parents instead, smashing vases, throwing dishes, even flipping the table over if a meal doesn't suit his taste, and he's not above kicking people now and then. Frankly, I can't be bothered with any of it. Don't call me heartless. In my past life, I stepped in to discipline him for this behavior. What did it get me? It got me my father saying, "A daughter shouldn't meddle in her nephew's affairs. If our grandson gives us trouble, we welcome it. It's a lively chaos many lonely old folks would kill for." It got me my mother saying, "You'd better hurry up and marry yourself off, and stop being a nuisance to my precious grandson." It got me beaten black and blue by Felix, only for them to whisper behind my back, "Serves you right," in exchange for my death. I was slandered by my own parents. My daughter studied that psychology and turned into a complete psychopath. She used my grandson as her little experiment every day, controlling this and that. She made our family's life a living hell, and her own mind went off the rails. Jumping off that building was her own choice to end it. We, as her parents, don't blame anyone. Officer, there's no need to investigate further. Don't I know my own daughter? She was just being dramatic. It was suicide, in exchange for a rushed slapdash funeral after my death, all because their precious grandson was studying for his postgraduate entrance exams and they were afraid of bad luck. I'm the kind of person who remembers kindness, but I remember grievances even more. The debt I owed my parents for their kindness, I repaid in full in my last life. In this one, I'll just sit back and watch them reap what they've sown. When the postgraduate exam results came out, the Zhao family's eldest grandson, as expected, didn't make the cut. This time, my mother came to me, practically begging on her knees, "Zoe, don't you work at the university? Do you think you could just get Felix in? It's just a matter of having a meal with the higher-ups, isn't it? A single meal to get our Zhao family's eldest grandson into graduate school. That would be a crowning glory for the whole family." My mother was beaming with excitement as she said this. As if Felix had already been accepted into graduate school, I retorted. "When I got into that 985 university for my master's, I didn't see you being proud of me then." My mother shot me a glance. "How is that the same? You're a girl. If it weren't for your scholarships covering the costs, I would have stopped your education long ago. What's a girl doing reading so much? Trying to outsmart men?" I scoffed. My dad chimed in, "Felix is the future of this family. You're just a daughter. Once you're married, you won't be a Zhao anymore. Now that your brother and sister-in-law are gone, if you don't help Felix, people will say you're a terrible sister." I couldn't be bothered to explain. I just told them, "If your precious grandson wants to go to grad school, he can take the exams himself. Bring this up one more time, and you can all get out of this villa." My parents fell silent. Felix, enraged, glared at me with pure hatred. I wasn't having any of it. I launched a flying kick that sent him sprawling to the floor. "Take a good look. I'm not your parents. If you glare at me like that again, I'll gouge your eyes out." 14, probably beaten into submission, Felix behaved himself for a few more days. I've been waiting patiently these past few days. When the time is right, I'll report my brother and sister-in-law to the court for taking the fall, and then make sure Felix goes to prison to face the punishment he deserves. The reason I waited was to cement the fact that my brother and his wife were taking the fall. That way, even if it was later proven they had nothing to do with those two cases, they'd still be reported for obstruction of justice and sent to prison. The whole family of 3 would be reunited in prison. Naturally, Felix suddenly knocked on the study door, saying he'd made some pork rib soup and invited me to have some. Looking at the bowl of perfectly normal mung bean soup, I remembered my past life, when he had once made this soup for the family. Everyone else, my parents, my brother, and his wife, got their soup just fine. Only in my bowl was there a poisoned cockroach, hidden at the bottom. The roach was completely crushed. By the time I fished out a cockroach leg, I had nearly finished the entire bowl of mung bean soup. That time, I ended up with food poisoning and spent 10 days in the hospital. How is that any different from poisoning someone? I was determined to call the police, but my brother, his wife, and my parents took turns talking me out of it. Not one of them showed any concern for me. They only wanted to protect their favorite. Felix pulled the same old trick. Swapping the mung bean soup for pork rib soup, he was trying to make amends. Thinking I'd fall for it one more time, but given a second chance, how could I possibly be fooled again? I poured out the pork rib soup, grabbed my documents, and headed out the door. As I walked through the living room, I saw my parents each helping themselves to a bowl of the pork rib soup. I had just stepped out when I saw Sean rushing over in a hurry. He looked so anxious that I thought something must be wrong with his brother's throat. But Sean grabbed me and asked, "You didn't eat anything Felix gave you today, did you?" I didn't know why he was asking, but I trusted him instinctively. He gave me a bowl of pork rib soup. I was worried there might be cockroaches in it, so I didn't drink it. I'm afraid it's more than just cockroaches. My friend who runs a shop in town said he saw Felix buy a packet of pesticide and leave this morning, Sean said. He knows about my brother. He thought Felix was out for revenge against him. But I suspect you're the real target. I'm worried something might happen to you. I gave a slight smile. I'm fine. He won't get me again. Mid-sentence, an image of my parents ladling soup suddenly flashed before my eyes. I dropped the documents and sprinted home. When I pushed the door open, my parents were already slumped over the table, clutching their stomachs, seeing me unharmed. Felix actually grabbed a kitchen knife and charged straight at me. Sean reacted in a flash. Shoving me behind him, he wrestled the knife from Felix and kicked him square in the groin. Felix collapsed, unable to get up, but he kept screaming, "Zoe, you ruined my future. I'll kill you. I'll kill you." Sean called the police, and I called an ambulance. Even though I hated my parents, I didn't want to see anything happen to them. 15. After the emergency treatment at the hospital, the doctor shook his head at me and told me to go in and spend some time with my parents. They seemed to be in decent spirits. My mother seemed to have pieced together what happened. She grabbed my hand, and just as I was about to ask her what was wrong, she started in on me. "Why did you have to push Felix so hard? Why are you so set against a child? If you hadn't done that, why would he have resorted to poisoning the mung bean soup?" My father chimed in. "Why couldn't you just treat him decently? Why couldn't you show him a little mercy? The mistakes he made were things you could have easily fixed, but you just wouldn't. You had to push until his parents were locked up. Of course he hates you." The last shred of familial affection in my heart turned to dust and vanished. My mother said, "Did you call the police? Go tell them we're not pressing charges." My father, "Exactly. We're not like you, holding a grudge against a child. A 20-year-old is still a child." Mom, Dad, are you really not going to press charges? I told them, "You don't even know what poison Felix put in the mung bean soup, do you?" "I'm telling you, it was pesticide." He poured in a whole bottle. My parents, who had just been lecturing me about forgiveness, immediately turned pale. "You really don't need to hold a grudge. You probably won't be alive to." Their faces filled with terror. I turned and left the hospital room, catching only fragments of the curses they hurled at Felix. It's too late. Only at death's door did I realize I had indulged my grandson into becoming a murderer. It's truly too late. 2 days later, the hospital declared the resuscitation efforts unsuccessful, and the patient was pronounced dead. When I came out of the emergency room, Sean held me, and I sobbed into his arms. But I won't grieve for long, because I know, if it had been me who was poisoned by that bowl of pork rib soup today, my parents wouldn't have grieved for me for long either. 16. 3 months later. My brother and sister-in-law were sentenced to 6 years for harboring a criminal, and Felix was sentenced to life imprisonment for intentional homicide and the crime of spreading dangerous substances. Felix had only been in prison for a year when I got a call. They said he'd picked a fight with a huge, fully tattooed inmate and got beaten so badly he lost control of his bladder and was left paralyzed from the waist down. When I went to see him in the prison hospital, he was laid out on the bed, unable to move anything but his mouth. I sat by his bedside and gave him a cold smile. "You know, Felix, I'm your only living relative now, which means, if you're ever on death's door, I have the right to tell the doctors to pull the plug." Felix glared at me with venom. "You didn't show up that day, so I went after Kaylee instead. You know how it is. Once that urge to kill takes hold, I can't control it. I have to see it through. If you had come, you would have been the one to fall. You should have been the one to die," he recalled with agitation. "All this time in prison, I've had the same dream. In it, you're the one I push off the concrete building. You fall. Your insides shattered. Such a gruesome death. I can't shake the feeling it wasn't just a dream. It's as if you suddenly gained the ability to foresee my every move." Felix looked at me. "Perhaps our paths will cross again. Zoe, I'll come for you. I'll haunt you from beyond the grave, I sneered. Go right ahead. That very night, Felix succumbed to his injuries in the hospital. My brother and his wife were devastated by the news of his death. After their tears subsided, they had their lawyer relay a message. They regretted taking the fall for the crime and begged me to get them out. My official response to all of you: get lost. 17. As the sole next of kin, I made the decision to donate Felix's corneas to Kaylee, restoring sight to her injured right eye. This was Felix's debt to Kaylee, and I'm making him repay it. 2 years later, I married Sean. After a year of treatment, Andy's voice finally recovered, allowing him to sing beautifully again. He retook the postgraduate entrance exam and, despite being a year behind, was admitted to his favorite music conservatory. I sponsored Kaylee's graduate studies. Though she's had a tough life, her talent is extraordinary, and I wish her a bright future. 6 months after getting married, I became pregnant. During my second prenatal checkup, the doctor told me that the baby was drawing too much nourishment from my body. Continuing the pregnancy could endanger my own life. My sister-in-law's accusatory question suddenly echoed in my ears. It's my child inside me, and you want me to end its life. If it were you, could you do it? At the same time, Felix's dying words haunted me once more. I'll come for you, Zoe. I'll never let you go, not even in death. Sean and I are both perfectly healthy. Our baby should be completely healthy too. The only explanation is, if I can be reborn, could Felix be too? If he really came back for me, is it possible? He's inside me right now. I placed a hand on my stomach. Ever since I conceived this child, I've been tormented. These 2 months of pregnancy have nearly drained me of all my energy and vitality. Felix, is that you? Have you come back to me? A cold smile played at the corner of my lips. The doctor could tell this was our first child and was about to say something. I said to the doctor, does becoming a mother necessarily mean sacrificing oneself? I'm not that noble. If this child threatens my life, then not giving birth is the greatest act of maternal love I can offer. The doctor looked at me in surprise, probably not expecting me to be so decisive and rational. Sean took my hand and said, I respect my wife's decision. After the abortion procedure, I saw the 2-month-old mass of flesh and blood that had come out of my body. For some reason, I thought it smelled foul, yet no one else could detect the odor. For a fleeting moment, I thought I saw Felix's face in that mass of tissue. I was startled. Sean held me in his arms, thinking I was still grieving the loss of a child. It's okay, if you don't want children. We don't have to have any. No, it's not because of that. I took that mass of flesh and blood back to my hometown and asked a spiritual expert to examine it. I've never forgotten what Felix said before he died. That dream he had was a memory from a past life. This grudge is indeed here for you. The master's words confirmed my suspicion. Felix truly has been reborn inside me, intending to drink my blood, following the master's instructions. I personally set this mass of flesh and blood ablaze, as the fierce flames erupted. I clearly heard Felix's agonized scream in my ears. Every suspicion was confirmed. Staring into the flames that shattered Felix's very soul, I let out a cold sneer. Reincarnation, you're not worthy. 2 years later, Sean and I were blessed with a pair of healthy, brilliant twins, a boy and a girl. Life was blissful. This happiness is what I deserve. The end. Story 2. After the college entrance exams. The class beauty suggested that the whole class sneak into the predator zone of the wildlife park for an adventure. Many classmates eagerly agreed, especially my boyfriend Blaze, who was particularly enthusiastic. I warned everyone that the predator zone was dangerous and tried to talk them out of it. Worried they wouldn't listen, I even notified each of their parents, under the strict supervision of their parents. None of them could go. The class beauty then took several boys from other classes to the predator zone for a live-streamed adventure. As a result, they encountered a fierce tiger that mauled them all to death. The death of the class beauty devastated the entire class. They all pointed fingers at me, doxing and publicly shaming my whole family. Due to the online harassment, my family's company's stock plummeted, leading to bankruptcy. My dad couldn't handle the stress and died from a heart attack. My mom had a brain hemorrhage. Unable to bear the devastation, I jumped from the building. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to that day when the class beauty was sweetly at ing everyone in the group chat, urging us to venture into the wild animal zone. 5. I was falling from a great height, the wind howling in my ears. The moment the concrete ground rushed toward me, my eyes snapped open. The glaring sunlight streamed through the gap in the curtains, and my phone buzzed on the pillow beside me. My hands trembled as I felt my limbs, all intact. The calendar by the bed showed June 12, 2025, the third day after the college entrance exams ended. This can't be. I pinched my thigh, the sharp pain confirming this was no dream. My phone screen lit up, with class group messages exploding across the display. Arya, at everyone so bored after exams. Just found out the wildlife park opened a new predator interaction zone. Let's sneak in and explore. Okay. I will never forget this voice message until the day I die, a sickeningly sweet voice, with deliberately drawn-out tones, like poison laced with honey. In my past life, it was this very message that began the nightmare of my family's ruin. With trembling fingers, I opened the group member list, and Blaze's profile picture was glaringly present, that same guy who publicly shamed me and led the online mob against me in my past life. Now my boyfriend is actively responding to Arya in the group chat. Blaze, Arya's suggestion is brilliant. I've always wanted to get up close and photograph wild beasts. I let out a cold laugh and closed the group chat. A storm of conflicting emotions churned in my chest, fear, rage, and a strange, unsettling sense of relief. We'd been reborn. I had truly been reborn. In my past life, I earnestly tried to dissuade everyone from entering the danger zone, only to be mocked for being cowardly. I alerted the parents to stop this farce, but was accused of being jealous of Arya. After the incident, I became the target of public criticism, bearing the blame for failing to protect the class beauty and causing her death. My phone kept vibrating incessantly. With over 99 unread messages in the group chat, I took a deep breath and opened the group chat. Arya, I've checked it out. The zoo security shift changes at 3 p.m. There's a gap in the western wall. We can sneak in through there. Cute, Alec. Arya, you're amazing. How did you even find that? Opal, heard the predator zone just got a few new Bengal tigers. We can get up close. Blaze, Arya is always up for an adventure, unlike some people who just know how to kill the mood at Lucia. Seeing myself tagged, my fingers froze over the keyboard. In my past life, I would have jumped in to argue right then, only to get ganged up on by everyone. This time, I slowly typed out, sounds thrilling. After sending that message, I turned off my phone and walked to the mirror. The girl in the reflection looked pale, with faint dark circles under her eyes, her weary face overlapping yet distinct from the memory of how she looked just before the jump. Lucia, this time you need to be smarter, I whispered to my reflection. My phone suddenly rang, the screen displaying Blaze calling. I watched it ring for over 10 seconds before leisurely pressing the answer button. Lucia, why are you so cold in the group chat? Blaze's voice carried clear frustration. Arya went through all the trouble to organize this event. You're not going to rain on her parade, are you? A faint smile touched my lips without a sound. Not at all, I said lightly. I was just thinking about what gear we'll need to bring. There was a noticeable pause on the other end of the line. You're not against it. Why would I be? I countered. It's perfectly normal for everyone to unwind after exams. Blaze seemed confused by my attitude, mumbled a few words, and hung up. 5. I stared at the messages popping up in the class group chat, my finger hovering over the screen for a long time before I finally decided not to type anything. My phone vibrated. Blaze sent a private message. Lucia, you really don't object? I smirked and replied, why would I object? As long as everyone's happy. I paused deliberately for a moment before adding, but do be careful. Blaze replied immediately. I knew my Lucia would be the sensible one. Don't worry, I'll keep everyone safe. I could practically picture him thumping his chest through the screen like an idiot. The group chat had already blown up with over 200 messages. I scrolled up and saw Arya had posted a few selfies, wearing a tight crop top and hot pants with her family's luxurious villa in the background. In the photo, she tilted her head and stuck out her tongue, with the caption, gotta dress sexy for adventure. Blaze, that outfit is perfect for exploring. Arya, you look amazing. Alec, Arya is absolutely fire. Opal, Arya, can I be your personal photographer? My stomach churned. Every photo of Arya is meticulously crafted, seemingly casual yet precisely calculated from every angle. My phone vibrated again. It was a voice message from Blaze. I clicked to play the message, hearing his deliberately hushed voice. Lucia, don't get the wrong idea. I only said that in the group chat to lighten the mood. You're my girlfriend. Arya is just a classmate. I bit down hard on my lower lip until I tasted blood. I know, I replied tersely, then dialed my mom's number. Lucia, my mom's voice sounded weary. Mom, I said softly, how about we take a trip to Hainan for a few days? Just the three of us. There was a brief silence on the other end of the line. Why the sudden urge to travel? I just need to unwind a bit. I looked out the window, the sunlight stinging my eyes. Lately, I've been feeling a little worn out. Mom immediately grew concerned. Is it the stress from your exams still getting to you? I'll take time off work right away. We can leave tomorrow. Hanging up the phone, I let out a long sigh of relief. After the tragedy in my past life, my parents stayed in town and became targets of angry netizens' doxing campaigns, leading to boycotts against their company. This time, I'm going to keep them far away from the eye of the storm. The class group chat exploded with messages again. Arya posted a video of herself sitting on the hood of her family's Mercedes in hot pants, swinging her long legs, saying, my dad knows the zoo management, he pulled some strings so the guards will turn a blind eye. Mr. Wang suddenly appeared in the group chat. Class, I just saw the discussion. The safari park's predator zone is strictly off limits. It's extremely dangerous. The group fell silent instantly. A few seconds later, Arya sent a tearful voice message. Mr. Wang, I worked so hard to organize this class event. We're all adults and we'll be careful. Please don't tell the principal. Okay, this kind of coy tactic always works on middle-aged male teachers. As expected, Mr. Wang's tone softened in his reply. At the very least, we must ensure that professionals accompany us. Arya, don't worry, teacher, my dad will send 2 bodyguards with us. After hesitating for a moment, I still shared a few links in the group. Wildlife park, tiger bites off tourist's arm, safety lapses in predator zone lead to 3 deaths. Lucia, it's better for everyone to be careful. The message went viral the moment it was posted. Alec, Lucia, you're more timid than a mouse. Opal, buzzkill, don't talk if you're too scared to go. Blaze, Lucia, these kinds of news stories are extremely rare. Arya specifically tagged me. Lucia, if you're scared, just stay home, we'll send you videos. I didn't reply, just silently took a screenshot and saved it. These records will come in handy later. My phone lit up again. It was a private message from Mr. Wang. Lucia, you did the right thing. I've informed the principal, but Arya's father has too much influence. Whatever you do, don't go yourself. Thank you, Professor. I won't be going. I put down my phone and opened my laptop to search for flights to Hainan. The screen's blue light cast a cold glow on my face. From the living room came the sound of my parents discussing the itinerary. My father, unusually cheerful, laughed and said, Lucia actually suggested this trip herself. She's really grown up. 5. At 6 in the morning, I suddenly felt a sharp discomfort in my stomach and began to vomit. Mother's hurried footsteps approached. Lucia, what's wrong? I curled up on the bathroom floor, clutching my stomach and groaning. Mom, my stomach hurts so much. Mother's face turned pale, and she immediately pressed her hand to my forehead. Oh my God, you're burning up. She turned and shouted, Vance, get the car ready. Lucia has a fever. Father rushed in and without a word tried to pick me up. I weakly shook my head. No, I feel like throwing up if I move. It might be acute gastroenteritis. Mom quickly assessed that seafood we had last night might not have been fresh. I secretly pinched my own thigh, and tears immediately welled up in my eyes. Mom, Dad, you should head to the airport first. I can't travel like this. Nonsense, Dad said firmly. We're taking you to the hospital. The smell of disinfectant in the hospital stung my nose. A nurse tipped my temperature, 102 degrees. The nurse exclaimed, go get a blood test first, then you'll need an 4 drip. My mother stroked my hair with concern, while my father was busy handling the paperwork, lying on the ER bed. I watched the constant stream of messages popping up in my workgroup chat. Arya, at everyone remember to meet at the school's west gate at 3 p.m. sharp. I've got some surprise little gifts for you all. Blaze, got it. Can't wait. Alec, you rock. Arya, Opal, Arya's the best. Lucia, a familiar voice called from the doorway. My heart skipped a beat. It was Mr. Wang, my homeroom teacher. He was holding a stack of medical records, likely here with a family member for a doctor's visit. Hello, Mr. Wang. I greeted him weakly. Mr. Wang stepped closer and lowered his voice. Are you sick? Is it serious? Acute gastroenteritis? My mother answered for me. Her fever is nearly 40 degrees Celsius. A complicated expression flickered across Mr. Wang's face. He glanced at my 4 drip and seemed to hesitate. Teacher, I said softly, did they still decide to go? Mr. Wang nodded gravely. The principal spoke with Arya's father, but he insisted there are safety measures in place. He gave a bitter smile. You know, Arya's family donated a whole laboratory building to the school. I closed my eyes, as if too exhausted to speak. Mr. Wang patted my shoulder, told me to get some rest, and left, just as the nurse was inserting the 4. My phone vibrated. It was Blaze. Lucia, where are you? His voice was laced with impatience. We're about to assemble. I bit my lip and let out a pained groan. The hospital, gastroenteritis. He was clearly taken aback. So, you're not going today. Well, have fun, you guys. Arya's cooing voice came through the phone. Blaze, who are you talking to? Come help me with the drinks. Blaze immediately shifted his tone. Coming, Arya, then said hurriedly to me, get some rest, then, bye. The call ended so abruptly. They didn't even bother to feign concern. When the third 4 bag started, my parents went out to buy lunch. I pulled out the needle, slipped out of the hospital quietly, and hailed a taxi to the west gate of First High School. I told the driver, a luxury bus with Sioux Group printed on its side was parked at the school's west gate. I had the driver stop at the corner and observe through the window. Students arrived one after another, with Arya standing by the bus door. Dressed in a crop top and hot pants, she blew kisses to everyone like a K-pop idol. Beside her was a pile of exquisitely wrapped gift bags, likely the so-called surprise gifts. Blaze eagerly helped Arya with her luggage, fawning over her like a dog begging for attention. Right now, I pulled out my phone, switched it to silent mode, and snapped over a dozen photos. Aren't we leaving? The driver asked impatiently. Just a moment longer. I replied, staring out the window. Arya suddenly raised her voice. Lucia's really not coming. What a shame, she sighed dramatically. I even specially prepared a gift for her. Blaze scoffed loudly. She's faking it, isn't she? She was perfectly fine yesterday. A few classmates burst into laughter. Opal shrilled. What a coward. Probably scared of being eaten by a tiger. My fingers clenched the door handle tightly, knuckles turning white. Arya hopped onto the bus steps, raising her selfie stick high. Come on. Let's get a group photo before we leave. No showers don't get to be in the shot. Amid cheers, everyone crowded in front of the camera, flashing peace signs. Watching their jubilant expressions, my stomach twisted into knots again. When my parents called, I hung up and texted, going for the checkup, be back soon. The bus engine roared to life and slowly pulled away. Just as the car was about to pull away, Blaze suddenly leaned out the window. His gaze locking directly with mine as I hid in the taxi. He froze for a moment, then flashed a look of disgust, mouthing the words, "Stop faking it," before retreating into the car without a second glance. The taxi driver glanced at me through the rearview mirror and asked, still following them, "No, take me back to the hospital." As the car turned around, I took one last look at the receding bus. Sunlight glinted off its surface, casting a blinding glare like an unsheathed sword. Back in the hospital room, my parents hadn't returned yet. I reconnected my Ford drip and opened my phone to watch Arya's live stream. On screen, the bus interior was decorated like a party scene, complete with streamers and balloons. Wearing bunny ear headbands, Arya pouted at the camera. "Hey lovelies, we're off on an adventure now. Keep those gifts coming. Rockets unlock exclusive private photos, you know." The screen was flooded with animated gift effects and suggestive comments. Arya giggled as she read aloud, "Wanna see Arya's legs? Oh my, so pale." She deliberately lifted the edge of her shorts, revealing a glimpse, which instantly sparked more tips. Blaze leaned into the camera, putting an arm around Arya's shoulder. "She's the bravest girl in our class, not like some people who chickened out at the last minute." Arya pretended to be annoyed as she swatted him. "Don't mention such a buzzkill." She turned to the camera. "Hey babies. Guess what fierce animal we're going to see next? One lucky guesser gets a kiss from me." I turned off the live stream and opened my photo album to look at the pictures I had just taken. Blaze's hand around Arya's waist, Arya's body pressed against Blaze's chest. The ambiguous way they looked at each other and smiled. The nurse came in to change my dressing, saw me staring blankly at my phone, and kindly advised, "Stop playing on your phone and get some rest." I nodded obediently. But the moment the nurse turned around, I immediately opened the live streaming app. Arya's live stream had skyrocketed to the top of the trending chart, with the title changed to "Rich Girl Leads the Whole Class into the Wild Animal Zone." In the video, my classmates took turns shouting into the camera, with blaring background music drowning everything out. Opal, her face flushed from drinking, flipped off the camera and yelled, "Lucia's such a coward. She's a fossil stuck in the evening news era." Alec took it even further by mimicking my tone, "Tigers eat people, you know," then burst into exaggerated laughter. "Watch me ride this tiger today and show you how it's done." The chat flooded with LOL and "What a legend." A few comments like "Isn't this kinda dangerous?" occasionally popped up, but were instantly drowned out by waves of "Stop being salty." I screenshotted these moments and saved them to the cloud along with the previous ones, then I texted my parents. "The checkup's done. The doctor said I just need to rest for a couple of days. You should reschedule your flights. Don't let this mess up your work plans." Mom replied, "Don't be silly. We're staying with you." 5. My phone buzzed and woke me up. The Ford drip was finished, and my parents were whispering by the bedside about whether to cancel their trip to Hainan. Outside the window, the sky was growing dark. It was 4:30 in the afternoon. It was a live stream notification from Arya. The title had been changed to "Live, Breaking into the Big Cat Zone." I put on my headphones and opened the stream. The footage was shaking violently, with the zoo's wall visible in the background. Arya was panting at the camera, her cheeks flushed. "Hey babies, we made it. Just over this wall is the predator zone." The comments are flooding the screen. "Go Arya, stay safe. So intense. Get more footage of the tiger." The camera pans to the others as students climb over the broken section of the wall one by one. Blaze stood below the wall assisting the girls, his hands accidentally lingering around each girl's waist. When it was Arya's turn, he cupped her bottom with both hands and lifted her down, sparking a round of teasing from the crowd. "Stop it," Arya cooed playfully, yet deliberately lingered in Blaze's embrace for a few extra seconds. I watched with a blank expression, my fingers lightly tapping the edge of the bed. The scene suddenly cut to a man in a security guard uniform. He looked nervous, constantly glancing over his shoulder. "Miss Arya, I can only give you 20 minutes. I've turned off the surveillance, but just in case." Arya slipped him an envelope. "Got it. Stop nagging." She turned to the camera. "See, everyone. Money makes the world go round." The guard felt the thickness of the envelope, hesitated for a moment, then pointed toward a narrow path. "Go this way. The third cage is the new Bengal tiger exhibit. Remember, stay away from the railings." "Relax." Arya waved her hand dismissively and led the group forward. As the camera shook, I saw a massive iron cage complete with trees and artificial rocks, but no sign of a tiger. "Where's the tiger?" Opal complained, sounding disappointed. The guard explained. "The tiger is still indoors. It hasn't been let out at this hour yet." "How boring." Alec cut him off. "Can't you just release the tiger?" The guard's face turned pale. "Absolutely not. These are untamed wild beasts." Arya pulled out another envelope. "Here's another 5,000. Let the tiger out so we can snap a few photos, and we'll leave right after." I could see the struggle on the security guard's face and knew he would eventually give in. The previous investigation report mentioned a human-induced malfunction in the Predator's own security system, so that's what it was. The guard finally took the envelope, his voice trembling. Just 5 minutes. You must stay outside the safe zone." He walked toward the control room, and moments later, the inner iron gate of the cage slowly began to rise. "It's starting," I murmured to myself, turning up the volume. On the live stream, my classmates excitedly crowded around the cage. Arya slid her selfie stick through the bars. "Take a good look, everyone, this is a real Bengal tiger." A low growl echoed from deep inside the cage, sending a chill down my spine. "It's out," someone screamed. A massive tiger emerged slowly, its golden fur marked with black stripes like strokes drawn by death itself. It sniffed the air, its gaze locking onto the crowd outside the cage. "So big," Blaze exclaimed. Raising his DSLR camera closer to the railing, the tiger suddenly charged forward. Crashing heavily against the railing, the entire iron cage trembled as the girls screamed and stepped back. "What are you afraid of? It can't get out," Alec taunted them, even waving his hand in front of the tiger. Arya's voice rose with excitement. "Did you see that, everyone? That was so thrilling just now. Send a rocket gift, and I'll have Blaze touch the tiger's rear." The live chat went wild. "Holy crap, are you out of your mind? This streamer is insane." Blaze turned pale, but slowly extended his hand amid the crowd's goading. Click, a faint mechanical click sounded, nearly drowned out by the noise, but my heart suddenly clenched. The cage door latch had come loose. "Blaze, take my picture quick." Arya struck a sexy pose with her back to the cage. "I want a photo with the tiger." Blaze raised his camera, his face suddenly paling. "Arya, behind you." The cage door slid open a crack. A security guard's voice echoed from afar. "Emergency, system failure. Get away from there." Everything happened in a flash. The tiger's paw shot through the gap, effortlessly snagging Alec's t-shirt as he stood at the front. Alec's mocking expression shifted to disbelief as he looked down at the tiger's claw piercing his abdomen. His lips trembled twice before blood gushed from the corner of his mouth. "Help me," were his final words. The tiger yanked violently, dragging Alec entirely into the cage. Screams erupted. The live stream footage shook wildly, and Arya nearly dropped her phone. "Run," the security guard shouted, but he was the first to turn and flee. Students scattered like headless flies. Opal was knocked to the ground and trampled by the panicked crowd, letting out piercing screams. Arya stood frozen in terror, trembling as the live stream captured the moment her pants suddenly darkened with urine. The tiger dropped Alec's lifeless body and turned toward new prey. It leaped effortlessly out of the cage door, landing right in the center of the crowd. "Close the door." "No," Blaze screamed hysterically, but no one dared approach the control lever. The tiger lunged at the nearest person, Opal, who shrieked and grabbed her best friend beside her, shoving the girl toward the tiger. "Here, take her instead." My best friend was struck in the head by the tiger's paw, sent flying like a rag doll, and crashed motionless against the rockery. No. Arya finally snapped back to reality, turned to run, but tripped and fell to the ground. Blaze hesitated for a second, then rushed over to pull her up. "Arya, get up, quick." The tiger clamped its jaws around a boy's leg, tearing off a large chunk of flesh. Blood splattered onto the camera lens, turning the screen dark red. The comments are going wild. "For real, call the police, special effects, right?" Arya's live stream was still going, her phone likely dropped on the ground, capturing the massacre at a tilted angle. Blaze pulled Arya toward the exit but was shoved aside by another fleeing student. "Get out of the way, don't block the path." The boy kicked Blaze in the knee. Blaze fell to his knees, and Arya broke free from his grasp, running off without looking back. The tiger noticed the isolated prey and began closing in slowly. "Arya, wait for me." Blaze reached out desperately, only to see Arya's figure vanish around the corner as the tiger pounced. Blaze's face was directly facing the camera, and I clearly saw the raw terror in his eyes. The tiger's fangs sank into his neck, and blood sprayed out in a fan-shaped arc. His body twitched a few times, then went completely still. The screen suddenly flipped as Arya picked up the phone, her face streaked with tears and mucus. "Help me, someone help me," she screamed into the lens. "I don't want to die." She turned and kept running, the camera capturing the hellish scene behind her. Dismembered limbs scattered across the ground, blood smeared everywhere, and a tiger devouring a mangled, unrecognizable corpse. "Security, where's security?" Arya shrieked as she dashed to the exit, only to find the door locked shut, probably triggered by some panicked idiot activating the emergency lockdown. The tiger closed in with deliberate slowness, its eyes blazing with bloodlust. Arya pressed her back against the iron gate as the camera captured a crystal-clear close-up of the approaching beast. "Please, I'm begging you." Arya slid to the ground, a dark stain spreading beneath her shorts. My father's rich. He'll pay any amount. The tiger made its final lunge, sending the camera spinning wildly. After one blood-curdling scream, the live feed abruptly cut to black. I set down my phone and found my palms drenched in sweat. The hospital room was eerily silent, broken only by the rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor. My parents pushed the door open and came in. My mother asked with concern, "Lucia, you look so pale. Are you still feeling unwell?" "I had a nightmare," I replied softly. "I'm feeling much better now." Outside the window, the sunset blazed like blood, staining half the sky crimson. I picked up my phone. The screen showed the last frame before the live stream cut off. Arya's face twisted in terror, and the tiger's gaping, bloodthirsty maw. I gently tapped the save video button. 5. Just as the phone screen dimmed, the hospital room door swung open. I quickly locked the screen and looked up to see a nurse entering with a thermometer. "Let's check your temperature," the nurse said, handing me the thermometer. "You look pale. Are you feeling unwell?" "Just a bad dream," I mumbled around the thermometer. After the nurse left, I turned my phone back on. Arya's live stream showed streamer offline, but the chat was going wild. For real. Did anyone call the police? Definitely special effects. I screen recorded it. So damn intense. I opened the trending topics, and hashtag Rich Kids Who Live Crisis had already climbed to 3rd place. Clicking in, the first thing was a clip reposted by a netizen. Those few seconds when the tiger lunged at Alec. The comments section is completely polarized. Some question its authenticity, others are calling to report it to the police, while many are cracking jokes like "the takeouts here, dig in first," and "this streamer is literally selling her life along with the products." I took a deep breath and dialed Mr. Wang's number. "Lucia." Mr. Wang's voice was hoarse, with noisy background sounds. "Did you see the group message?" "No, what's wrong?" I feigned confusion. A heavy sigh came through the phone. "Something's happened. Arya and the others went to the zoo and encountered a tiger attack. The details are still unclear, but the police are already on their way." "Oh my God," I raised my voice slightly. "Are they all right?" After a few seconds of silence, Mr. Wang said with difficulty, "There might be casualties." After hanging up the phone, I opened the class group chat. The last message was from 3 hours ago, a selfie posted by Opal. Scrolling up, almost everyone was bragging about the adventure. No one had heeded my warning. The video on social media is spreading wider and wider. Someone released a longer clip, showing Blaze being bitten on the neck by a tiger. Although blurred with mosaic, the splattered blood was still horrifying to see. The hospital room TV suddenly cut to breaking news. Latest report, a serious incident at the wildlife park. Multiple visitors trespassed into a restricted area and were attacked by wild animals. 4 confirmed dead, 3 critically injured. My mother gasped. "Isn't that your school?" I murmured softly. They didn't listen to the warning. My parents exchanged a complicated glance. My father cleared his throat. "Lucia, would you like to come home and rest?" "All right." While packing my bags, I secretly checked my phone. The police report came out. 7 students entered a restricted area. 4 died on the spot. 2 passed away after being hospitalized, and 1 is in critical condition undergoing emergency treatment. The list of the deceased includes Arya, Blaze, Alec, and Opal. On the way home, my mother cautiously asked, "That Blaze, is he your classmate?" "Yeah, my ex-boyfriend," I said, gazing at the scenery rushing past the window. "We broke up last week." The lie came so naturally. My mother visibly relaxed and gave my hand a gentle squeeze. The door had just closed when my phone started vibrating like crazy. The surviving students in the class group began to speak up. "Zane, that was terrifying. I almost went there myself." "Sable, thank goodness my mom stopped me." "Xiaoming, I heard Arya and the others. They're all gone." Then, someone had mentioned me. "At Lucia, did you know something was going to happen all along?" I didn't reply, just took a screenshot. Soon, people in the group started stirring things up. If only Lucia had insisted on stopping it back then. She knew it was dangerous. Why didn't she stop Arya? I heard she's always been jealous of Arya because Blaze likes her. The same old accusations, just like in my past life. But this time, instead of defending myself in the group chat, I quietly collected every single comment made against me. At 8 p.m., the homeroom teacher posted an announcement in the group. A memorial service will be held tomorrow at 10 a.m. in the school conference room, and all students are required to attend. My parents looked at me with concern. "Lucia, maybe you shouldn't go." "I have to go," I said calmly, "or else there will be even more gossip." Before going to bed, I checked the cloud backup, the live stream recording, group chat logs, and trending screenshots were all safely uploaded. Finally, I clicked on the full live stream video and fast-forwarded to the crucial moments. The instant Arya shoved her best friend toward the tiger. The look of utter despair in Blaze's eyes when abandoned. The disgraceful sight of classmates pushing and shoving each other to escape. These images will become my most powerful weapon. The next morning, the news was updated. The last critically injured person died despite rescue efforts. The death toll has risen to 7. The media uncovered Arya's father's background and evidence of his bribery of security personnel. An eerie atmosphere hung over the campus. In the hallway, Several girls were huddled together, sobbing uncontrollably. At the back of the classroom, the guys who usually hung out with Arya sat in red-eyed silence. The moment I sat down, Zane rushed over and demanded, "Lucia, why didn't you answer your phone yesterday? Blaze was desperately trying to reach you before he died." The room fell dead silent, and everyone turned to look at me. "I'm sick, at the hospital," I said, looking him straight in the eye, "and Blaze went to Arya in the end, not me, you." Zane's face turned ashen, heartless. "Aren't you the least bit sad that they're dead?" I remained silent. At the memorial service, the principal gave a heartfelt speech, calling it an unforeseen tragedy. Our homeroom teacher, Mr. Wang, choked up several times while reading the names of the deceased students. When he read Blaze, a girl suddenly pointed at me and screamed, "She's the one who got him killed." She knew it was dangerous and did nothing to stop it. The crowd erupted in an uproar, everyone's stares pierced like knives. "Lucia," the principal asked sternly, "what do you know?" I slowly stood up, my voice calm. I posted a warning in the group chat, along with news links about wildlife attacks. I took out my phone. "Would you like me to show everyone?" The principal took my phone, and after checking the records, his expression became complicated. "Indeed, Lucia did warn everyone." "But that's not enough," Zane exclaimed, jumping to his feet. "If you had insisted on stopping it, or even told the teacher." "I did tell Mr. Wang." I cut him off. "Mr. Wang even warned everyone in the group chat. Did any of you listen?" Mr. Wang nodded awkwardly in confirmation. The room fell silent, and what's more, I continued, "Evidence of Arya's father bribing the security guard has been exposed by the media, who paid to get everyone into the restricted area. Who bragged during the live stream that money makes the world go round." A few students lowered their heads, others began whispering among themselves, "You're just jealous of Arya." A girl suddenly shouted, "Blaze likes Arya, so you want her dead?" I let out a cold laugh and opened my phone gallery. "Take a look at these photos. Who's really trying to steal whose boyfriend?" On the screen, photos of Blaze holding Arya by the waist scrolled by one after another, finally landing on a live-stream screenshot, the exact moment Arya pushed her best friend toward the tiger. The entire place fell silent. I warned her, I advised her, and I tried to stop her, I said, taking back my phone. "Adults have to take responsibility for their own choices." With that, I turned and walked out of the conference room. Behind me, I could hear the principal trying to restore order, but no one came after me. On my way home, my phone kept buzzing non-stop. The class group chat exploded. Some called me heartless, while others began to reflect. Meanwhile, on social media, public opinion was already shifting, after watching the full live stream, that Arya is just disgusting, pushing her friend toward the tiger. These spoiled rich kids got what they deserved, bribing security to break the rules. The only sensible girl got cyberbullied. What kind of world is this? I turned off the notifications and let out a long sigh of relief. Round one goes to me. After getting home, I fired up my computer and sent the compiled evidence to several major media outlets. Highlighted segments show Arya's father bribing security guards, along with Arya boasting about it during her live stream. That evening, my father called me into the living room with a grave expression. The TV was airing an in-depth report. The wildlife park involved has been shut down for investigation. Police found evidence of tampering with the security system. Sioux Group's stock prices plummeted. "Lucia," my father asked hesitantly, "were you involved in this?" I tried my best to stop them, I said softly, but they wouldn't listen. My mother hugged me. "We were just worried about you." "I'm okay." I hugged her back, feeling the warmth of her embrace. "Really?" I went back to my room and checked my emails. A media outlet replied that they were very interested in my exclusive perspective and requested an interview. I politely declined the interview but agreed to provide additional information. Before going to bed, I refreshed the trending topics. A new topic is climbing the charts. Hashtag ZooVictim was once a bully hashtag. Clicking through, I found a lengthy post from an anonymous account detailing how Arya's clique bullied their classmates. In the attached video, Arya was pouring ink over a girl's head while harsh laughter echoed around them. I turned off the light and lay awake in the darkness, eyes wide open. At this point in my previous life, I had already been labeled a murderer, and my parents' company started receiving threatening calls. But now, my phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. "Thank you for your courage. I'm Coraline, the one Arya forced to transfer schools. Finally, someone is speaking the truth." I deleted the text message and rolled over to sleep. Tomorrow, the storm will continue. 5. The morning sun pierced through the gap in the curtains, and I squinted as I fumbled for my phone. The screen showed 27 unread messages and 15 missed calls, mostly from classmates and unknown numbers. I opened Weibo, and the top trending topic had already become hashtag wildlife park tragedy surveillance video hashtag. The video was clearly shot from an angle, surreptitiously. The quality was blurry but clear enough to make out. Arya's father handed a thick envelope to the security guard, who nodded obsequiously before shutting off a circuit breaker. The comments section exploded. So a rich person's life matters, but a security guard's doesn't, selling lives for money, and now your daughter's gone, serves you right. I heard this boss has a shady past. I put down my phone and walked into the bathroom. The girl in the mirror had faint dark circles under her eyes, yet the corners of her mouth held a barely perceptible curve. In my past life at this very moment, my photoshopped image as a murderer went viral online. But now public opinion is shifting exactly as I'm steering it. The doorbell rang. My mother went to answer it, followed by her surprised voice asking, "May I ask who you are?" Reporter from the City Daily, here to interview Lucia about the wildlife park incident. I quickly rinsed my mouth and grabbed my glasses to put on. This would make me look more nerdy and credible. A female journalist in her early 30s stood in the living room, her short hair neatly styled and a voice recorder in hand. "Lucia, sorry to bother you. I'm Dahlia, a reporter from the City Daily's Social Affairs section. I'd like to hear your thoughts as a classmate of the victim." My mother watched me nervously, and I gave her a reassuring look. "I can answer, but I'll only share what I personally witnessed." The reporter's eyes lit up as she quickly opened her notebook. "Some classmates mentioned you tried to stop this risky venture." "Yes," I said, pulling out my phone and opening the class group chat at 9 a.m. On June 12th, I shared 3 news articles about wildlife attacks in the group and clearly warned everyone, better be careful. The journalist quickly took notes and then asked, "How did the other students react at the time?" "They made fun of me for being timid," I replied calmly. Arya said, "If you're too scared to go, just stay home," and Blaze called it a low-probability event. "Blaze is your boyfriend, isn't he?" The reporter picked up on the detail keenly. "Ex-boyfriend." I corrected, "We broke up a while ago." The reporter nodded thoughtfully and asked, "Is it true that you contacted the homeroom teacher privately?" "Yes, I told Mr. 1 the event was dangerous, and he did warn everyone in the group chat." I paused, then added, "But Aria's father donated a building to the school, so even the principal couldn't stop them." The reporter's eyes lit up at that remark. She quickly jotted it down, asked for a few more details, then closed her notebook with satisfaction. "One last question. What's your take on the online rumors about the victim having been involved in school bullying?" I lowered my gaze, feigning thought. "I won't comment on specific rumors, but Arya did have a particular kind of influence. Take this event, for example, clearly dangerous, yet no one dared to oppose her." Just before the reporter left, I casually mentioned, "By the way, the zoo security guard probably knows more. I heard he lives in the shantytown east of the city." After closing the door, my mother looked at me with concern. "Lucia, are you sure it's all right to say that?" "It's all true." I hugged her. "Don't worry." In the afternoon, my father came home unusually early, holding a newspaper. "Lucia, here's today's City Daily." The front page headline boldly read, "Who bears responsibility for 7 young lives? Investigation into the wildlife park tragedy," with the subheading, "Students repeatedly warned of dangers. Wealthy girl insisted on organizing risky expedition." The article quoted extensively from my group chat records and the head teacher's testimony, and mentioned that according to informed sources, the small group of victims had been repeatedly suspected of bullying classmates during their time at school. Although no names were mentioned, the accompanying image was a pixelated screenshot of the class group chat, with Aria's comment, "If you're too scared to go, just stay home," standing out prominently. "It's written very objectively," my father commented, his expression complicated, "but using a classmate's misfortune to." "It was a risk they chose themselves," I interrupted him. "I'm just telling the truth." My father seemed to hesitate, then finally let out a sigh. After dinner, I received a call from an unknown number. "Is this Lucia?" "I'm Aria's mother." The voice on the other end was hoarse and choked with emotion. I'd like to meet you." I tightened my grip on the phone. "What's this about?" "Aria, her final moments," the woman sobbed. "You saw it on the live stream, didn't you?" "Was she in pain?" Aria's last expression before the tiger pounce flashed before my eyes, pure, primal fear. "It was quick," I lied. "She didn't suffer much." Heart-wrenching sobs erupted from the other end of the line. Then a man's voice took over the call. "Lucia, this is Mr. Su. I hear you have the complete live stream footage. We're willing to pay top dollar for it." Just as I thought, I let out a silent, cold laugh. "Why, that was my daughter's final moments." His voice trembled, but with more anger than sorrow. "We don't want it getting out. I've already handed the video over to the police," I said calmly. "Besides, people have already screen recorded and shared it online. You should be asking the platforms to take those posts down." 1 million, he said abruptly, "as long as you promise not to share it and delete the copy you have." I almost burst out laughing. In my past life, Aria's family used their connections to get my defense video censored across the entire internet, and now they're trying to buy me off with money. "Mr. Su," I said, slowing my speech to sound sincere, "I really don't have the power to control how things spread online. I suggest you contact the police and the platform." After hanging up, I immediately backed up all my files to a newly registered cloud drive. I know Aria's family's tactics all too well. They might hack into my account and delete the evidence. The next day at school, the atmosphere was noticeably different. The students whispering in the hallway fell silent as I passed, only to erupt into discussion again once I was out of earshot. At the office door, Mr. Wang approached me and said, "Lucia, the principal would like to see you first, in the principal's office." He looked grave and said, "Lucia, the Sioux Corporation has sent the school a lawyer's letter demanding we remove all false information related to Aria. The group chat records are false information," I retorted. The principal gave a wry smile. "They claim you're taking things out of context and misrepresenting Aria's image." He lowered his voice. "The board is under tremendous pressure. The Sioux family is the school's largest benefactor." "I understand," I nodded. "What do you need me to do, if possible?" "Please refrain from speaking to the media for now." The principal handed me a form. "This is the early admission application. Submit it directly to me once completed." Taking the form, I asked softly, "Principal, do you think Aria and the others should be sent to the predator zone?" The principal fell silent for a long moment. This shouldn't have happened. After leaving the principal's office, I went straight to the library. While filling out forms, my phone vibrated. A text from reporter Dahlia. Exclusive. Zoo security guard admits to accepting 200,000 in bribes. The Sioux family is under criminal investigation. Police have filed a case. Are you safe? I replied, "Thanks for your concern. I'm safe." Right after sending it, another call came through from an unknown number. "Miss Vance, I'm a reporter from Legal Weekly. I'd like to inquire about Aria's school bullying incidents." "I'm sorry. I'd rather not comment." I politely declined. "We received a tip that Aria once forced a female student to drop out, and you were a witness." My heart skipped a beat. It did happen, but no one dared to mention it in the past. "Please direct your inquiries to the school administration," I said before hanging up. "Who's behind these leaks?" I opened Weibo and saw a new trending hashtag Sioux Group Scandals. Clicking through revealed a lengthy post by a finance blogger detailing Sioux Group's glorious history of bribery for projects and employee exploitation. The snowball of public opinion keeps growing, far beyond what I anticipated. I only meant to protect myself, but I never realized Aria's family had so many enemies. They seized the first chance to gang up on us. On my way home, a black car trailed slowly behind me. The car window rolled down, revealing a man in sunglasses. "Miss Vance, Mr. Sue would like to invite you to dinner." I pretended not to hear and quickened my pace. The car continued to follow, and the man raised his voice. "About the sponsorship eligibility, didn't the principal tell you it requires board approval?" I stopped dead in my tracks. This was a blatant threat. "Tell Mr. Sue." I turned and stared directly at the man in sunglasses. "If he interferes with my guaranteed admission, tomorrow the entire internet will see the 4K HD video of Aria pushing a classmate toward the tiger." The man in sunglasses paled and quickly rolled up the car window. The sedan sped away. When I got home, I immediately contacted reporter Dahlia. "If there are any issues with my guaranteed admission, can you run the story?" She replied instantly, "Absolutely. Educational equity is a hot-button issue." That evening, my father came home with news. The Sioux Group is under investigation for alleged commercial bribery and endangering public safety. The TV news showed footage of Aria's father being escorted by police, dressed in a suit, using his briefcase to shield his face. The reporter's voiceover. "The Zoo tragedy has uncovered a case within a case, exposing years of illegal activities by the Sioux Group." Mom suddenly said, "Lucia, I've rescheduled our flight to Hainan for next week. Let's take a family trip to unwind." I nodded, but my mind was elsewhere. The cyberbullying that drove me to my death in my past life had now shifted to Aria's family. Is this karma, or is it the result of my unintentional influence? Before bed, I double-checked all the backup evidence, then texted the principal. "The recommendation form is filled out and I'll submit it tomorrow. I trust the school will handle this fairly." After sending this message, I turned off my phone and stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow will be a new day, and this time, my fate is in my own hands. 5. Blaze's funeral was held on a gloomy morning. I wore a simple black dress, clutching a phone in my hand, not my usual one, but a backup device hidden deep in a drawer, containing crucial evidence. The memorial hall was arranged with solemn dignity, centered by Blaze's graduation photo where his radiant smile was almost blinding. Below the photo lay an array of white chrysanthemums, including one for me, purely to avoid standing out. The moment I stepped inside, I felt dozens of eyes piercing through me like arrows. Zane was the first to rush over, his eyes red and swollen. "How dare you show up?" "Why wouldn't I dare?" I asked calmly. "If it weren't for you, Zane, Mr. Wine." Our homeroom teacher interjected promptly, "Mind the setting." I walked up to the coffin and gave a symbolic bow. The casket was closed. Rumor has it the body was too badly mangled for viewing. My funeral in my past life was the same, except I'd fallen from the 28th floor. "Hypocrite," came the sobbing voice of Opal's best friend behind me. "Was killing them not enough? Now you have to show up and rub salt in the wound." I didn't look back, walking straight toward the family section. Blaze's mother slumped in the chair, her eyes hollow and vacant. When she saw me, she suddenly became agitated. "You must be Lucia. Blaze often spoke of you. He said you were a wonderful girl." My throat tightened. "My condolences, Auntie," I said softly, handing her an envelope. "These are some of Blaze's belongings. I thought you should have them." Blaze's mother trembled as she opened the envelope, revealing printed chat logs. Explicit conversations between Blaze and Arya spanning 6 months, including the period we were together. This can't be. Blaze's mother turned pale. "What's going on?" Zane leaned in, snatched a few pages, and after a quick glance, his expression twisted. This is fake. You forged this." I pulled out another phone from my bag. "The original is right here. You can verify the timestamps and account details." The funeral hall suddenly fell silent. Everyone stared at those chat logs, which clearly showed how Blaze called Arya baby, how he mocked me for being conservative and boring, and even detailed plans on how to ditch that deadweight during the graduation trip. "So," I said softly, making sure my voice reached everyone, "why would I be jealous of a cheating boyfriend and the other woman?" The statement exploded like a bomb. Blaze's mother slumped in her chair, while the expressions of our classmates shifted from anger to confusion, and then to embarrassment. "But you still shouldn't have just left someone to die." Zane struggled on, but his momentum had clearly weakened. I pulled up the class group chat history, finding the warnings and wildlife news links I had posted. "Would you call this saving someone?" Just then, my phone buzzed. It was a message from reporter Dahlia. "Check the headlines now." I clicked the link to a breaking report, exclusive. Behind the zoo tragedy, victims had history of group bullying. The article detailed how Arya's clique had forced a female student to transfer schools. In the attached audio, Arya's shrill voice was unmistakable. "Not drinking. Then I'll pour it over your head. You deserve to be scalded." The cries in the recording made my stomach churn. I knew about this, but no victim had ever dared to come forward. "Who provided the evidence?" "Lucia, Mr. One quietly pulled me aside. "The principal asked me to inform you that your recommendation materials have been submitted. Admission to a top-tier university is practically guaranteed." I raised my eyebrows in surprise. "The school has no objections?" I asked tentatively. "Mr. One lowered his voice. The Sioux group is in enough trouble already. They can't afford to deal with this right now." He paused. "Actually, the school is grateful to you. If it weren't for your record of the early warning, public opinion wouldn't be so favorable. So that's how it is. The school needed me, the sober one, to prove they had fulfilled their educational responsibilities." As I was leaving the funeral parlor, a strange girl stopped me. She was wearing a mask, her eyes red and swollen. "Lucia, I'm Coraline." I immediately remembered the girl who had hot water thrown on her by Arya, who transferred schools in my past life and was never heard from again. "Did you provide the recording?" I asked. She nodded as tears rolled down her cheeks. "I never dared, until I saw you stand up." "Why do you dare now?" "Because," she looked up with tear-filled eyes, "if even you aren't afraid, what do I have to be afraid of?" Those words pierced my heart like a knife. In my past life, I was truly afraid. I retreated, and ultimately got swallowed by public opinion. But now, I'm just relying on the foresight that comes with being reborn. When I got home, my father had unusually left work early, a smile on his face. "Lucia, the company landed a huge deal today. Congratulations, Dad." I poured him a cup of tea. The client said, "They really admire our family's parenting approach." Father remarked with slight embarrassment, "Especially that part where you rationally talked your classmate out of it." I nearly laughed out loud. Business people will be business people. They can even turn a tragedy into a selling point. During dinner, Mother announced that the Hainan trip is scheduled for next Wednesday. I noticed the wrinkles between her eyebrows had softened considerably. "By the way," my mother said suddenly, "the community center called today. They'd like Lucia to give a safety lecture for teenagers." I paused with my chopsticks. "What's the topic?" "Something about rational risk assessment." My mother hesitated, looking at me. "You can say no if you don't want to go." "I'll do it," I said immediately. This is exactly the platform I need. As I was organizing my lecture materials in the evening, my phone kept buzzing. The atmosphere in the class group chat had completely shifted. I never thought Arya and Blaze were that kind of relationship. Lucia did warn us, but we didn't listen. To be honest, Arya can be a bit overbearing. I wasn't part of the discussion, just took screenshots for the record. These fair-weather friends were the first to turn against me in the past life too. Reporter Dahlia just sent an update. Police investigation breakthrough. The security guard admitted Arya's father instructed him to disable the safety system. Sioux Corporation faces gross negligence charges and possible license revocation. I replied, "What about the victims' families?" "Arya's family is dealing with their own troubles. The other families are jointly suing the zoo and Sioux Corporation." Also, something strange. Police found a deleted text on the guard's phone from a suspicious number. My heart skipped a beat. What number? Not disclosed, but the tech team is tracking it. Who do you think it is? I stared at the screen, my fingers turning cold. I did use an anonymous number to gather information. Did I leave any traces? I'm not sure, I replied, then immediately deactivated that anonymous email account. The next day, the principal called personally. Lucia, your early admission application has passed the initial review, but we need you to attend an interview. When? Next Tuesday. The principal paused. The media might cover this. Would you mind? Not at all. I understood his underlying message. The school needed positive publicity. After hanging up, I opened my computer to look up information about that university. My phone rang again. An unknown number. I hesitated before answering. Hello, Lucia, a male voice said in a low tone. I'm Alex's brother. My whole body tensed up. In my past life, it was Alex's brother who led the online harassment campaign against me. Starting the Lucia the Murderer hashtag. What do you want? I tried to stay calm. I want to apologize. His voice choked with emotion. After reading those chat logs, I only then realized how awful my brother and the others were. I froze. Alec wasn't like this before. He continued. Ever since he started hanging around with that Arya, he's become a completely different person. He took a deep breath. I'm sorry. I misunderstood you. After the call ended, I stood by the window. Lost in thought, my mother knocked and came in. Lucia, the community lecture has been moved to tomorrow. Is that okay? No problem. I forced myself back to reality. That evening, my father brought home a newspaper with a front-page photo of the Sioux Corporation headquarters being raided. Before bed, I checked the encryption on all my devices and wiped every trace of the anonymous number that might have connected me to security. The police might recover the data, but by the time they figure it out, everything will have already been settled. Before turning off the light, I glanced at the calendar. 2 weeks have passed since the tragedy, and my new life is just beginning. 5. By the floor-to-ceiling windows of the university library, sunlight made my laptop screen glow. I typed the final period of my paper and stretched. Nearby, a few girls pointed at me, then quickly looked down, pretending to study. A year has passed, and the Safari tragedy remains a hot topic of conversation, while I, as the only lucid survivor, still get recognized from time to time. My phone vibrated. It was a message from my boyfriend Corbin. Finished the experiment. Want to grab dinner? I replied with a smiley face and packed up my bag. Corbin, a senior in the physics department, is steady and reliable, the complete opposite of the smooth-talking Blaze. Most importantly, he never saw me as the heroine of that incident. He simply liked me for who I am. In the cafeteria, Corbin had already gotten 2 meals. He adjusted his glasses, pointing at his phone screen. Lucia, is this what you all were back then? I glanced at it, an anniversary retrospective from some self-media outlet. 1 year since the wildlife park tragedy, the rich kids killed by a princess syndrome. The viciousness of the headline made me frown. Let's not look at these anymore. I flipped his phone face down on the table. Corbin tactfully changed the subject. How's your graduate school application coming along? Almost done. I picked up a spare rib and put it on his plate. My advisor says my GPA is quite competitive. After the meal, Corbin headed to the lab, and I walked back to the dorm alone. The campus radio is broadcasting safety education announcements, a new regulation mandated by the Education Bureau following the tragic incident. A familiar face on the bulletin board caught my eye as I passed by. It was Coraline, on the poster. She wore a shy smile, with the caption below reading, Department of Psychology Special Guest, Rebuilding Self-Identity After Surviving School Bullying. I took out my phone to snap a picture, hesitated for a moment, but eventually sent her a message. Saw your lecture poster. You've got this. She replied immediately. Thanks. Actually, I'd like to invite you to listen. I stared at this message for a long time. For the past year, Coraline and I have maintained an on and off connection. She was the only one who knew I had tried to prevent the tragedy, and the only victim who came forward to testify against Arya's bullying. I'll see if I have time. I finally replied. The dorm was empty. My roommates had all gone to class. I opened my computer, and the search engine auto-completed the words Wildlife Park. All the related results below were anniversary reports. I clicked on the top result, and the videos started playing automatically, the familiar zoo gates. A death list in stark black and white, followed by 7 vibrant youthful portraits. The media certainly knows how to dramatize tragedy with aesthetic flair. Reports mention that the Sioux Group has gone through bankruptcy liquidation, with the zoo being acquired and converted into a safety education center. The camera pans over the predator zone where the incident occurred. Now standing a warning monument inscribed with 8 bold characters, respect life, follow the rules. Scrolling down with the mouse wheel, the comment section is buzzing with activity. Serves that rich kid right. That girl Lucia really dodged a bullet. Word is Arya bullied a lot of people back in school. Public opinion has completely flipped. Arya, once hailed as the goddess of bravery, has now become synonymous with the princess of recklessness. And those who blindly followed the trend to criticize me are now just as quick to turn their backs on them. Human nature is truly a fascinating thing. The end. Story 2. Rumors of the apocalypse. 3 things threaten human survival: hordes of zombies, zombie evolution, and a princess accompanied by her 2 mad dogs. 1. The day the zombie outbreak occurred, 2 crazy handsome guys hijacked my car. From then on, my 100-acre estate was home to 2 ferocious dogs. They called me princess, I called them mad dogs. 2. I'm a hoarding enthusiast. I own a 100-acre estate. The day the zombies broke out, I had just returned from a banquet. Wearing a gorgeous princess dress under my coat, I was driving home alone when I suddenly hit someone. 3. That person ran into my car. I wasn't driving fast, but the car still hit him hard. He lay on the ground, lifeless. I immediately turned off the engine and got out to check on him. As I crouched down, the person on the ground suddenly opened his eyes, his face covered in blood, and with an evil smile, he pressed a knife against my abdomen. Don't scream, my knife is very sharp. He forced me back into the back seat of the car. I sized him up. He was clean and handsome, not very old, wearing black-rimmed glasses, like the admired top student in countless schools, but at this moment, he slowly cut open my coat, revealing my princess dress. Oh, a runaway princess. 5. Suddenly, the driver's door was opened. Another man got in. He was carrying an axe, which he casually placed on the soft, delicate passenger seat. I frowned slightly. The man playing with the knife leaned close to me, his lips near my ear, unhappy. I pushed him away with disgust. He sat beside me, laughing unrestrainedly. Such a naughty little princess. 6. The man in the driver's seat wore a baseball cap. His face was unclear. Only his strong jawline was slightly visible. He was tall and well-built, seemingly more difficult to deal with than the one next to me. Suddenly, several eerie figures appeared in front of the car, their bodies stiff and movements sluggish, just like zombies. The man next to me wrapped his arm around me, saying, "Princess, welcome to the apocalypse." I suppressed a smile. The long-awaited apocalypse had finally arrived. 7. The man in the driver's seat picked up the axe again. He got out of the car and cleanly took care of those zombies. Then he got back into the car. I said, "Don't put the axe on my seat. It's dirty." The man paused, then turned to look at me. For the first time, I could clearly see his face. He smiled at me, revealing a fanged tooth, his eyes gleaming with a bloodthirsty ferocity. Then, right in front of me, he tossed the axe onto the passenger seat. The expensive white fur seat cover was dirted. I was somewhat displeased. 8. The one with the axe asked, "Where to?" The one with the knife said, "To the princess's home." Without my consent, they directly used the navigation to find my home. The vehicle slowly approached my 100-acre estate. Why not kill her? Wait until she opens the door. 9. The road back to the estate was rough, muddy everywhere, with zombies occasionally springing up, those that could be avoided. We drove around, those that couldn't. The one with the axe would cleanly take care of. His skills did not seem ordinary, more like Everett is a mercenary, you know, the man next to me whispered in my ear, then once again flashed his malicious smile. So, don't think about escaping. 10. The apocalypse didn't come suddenly. There were signs all along. A certain country had been conducting biochemical experiments, creating many strange creatures. People maintained a facade of calm, living numbly every day, just like a calm sea that hides a sweeping crisis beneath, capable of overturning everyone in an instant. The day finally came. A moment ago, people were worried about their studies, careers, and love lives. The next moment, the only thing that mattered was staying alive. This was a nightmare for some, for others, it was a celebration. The car stopped in front of the homestead. The once imposing and sturdy iron gate now seemed as flimsy as a piece of scrap paper. The man with the axe was called Everett. The one with the knife was named Ezra. Perhaps these weren't their real names, but who cares at the end of the world? They had me open the outermost iron gate. The sedan slowly drove in. The results of 3 years of building my homestead slowly came into view. The scattered simple bungalows filled with fruits and vegetables, and the most conspicuous and exquisite small villa. The car stopped at the villa. They dragged me upstairs. I usually lived alone in this small villa. I only came over on weekends. The homestead was large, and the guards were stationed at various other corners. So it took a while to notice anything amiss. Now these 2 thugs, they had kidnapped me, broken into my villa, drank my red wine, and even lay in my bed. Before the apocalypse, this was called home invasion. After the apocalypse, there were no laws left to restrain them. I sat quietly on the soft white carpet, my fluffy princess dress spreading out around me like a bright flower blooming in the pristine snow. Everett was bandaging a wound on Ezra's head. Ezra lay brazenly on my bed, holding my pillow. The princess bed is really comfortable. It's all filled with her scent. I frowned. He hadn't even bothered to take off his shoes before sleeping in my bed. How dirty. Ezra laughed, his eyes squinting. "Princess, I like your base, but now it all belongs to us." Ouch. Ezra's smiling face wrinkled as he sucked in a breath of cold air. Everett's cold voice rang out. "I pressed too hard. The wound won't stop bleeding. And you need some antibiotics." What a madman. He had rammed the car with his body just to stop me. Luckily, he was seriously injured. I lowered my head and curved the corners of my mouth. I led them to the basement to get medicine. Ezra was still holding his knife. "Don't try any tricks," I smiled. "You two big men, afraid of me." Ezra's knife pressed against my waist again, cold, hard, and full of malice. A shiver ran down my spine. A delayed sense of fear spread up from my tailbone. I clenched my fists, trying to steady my emotions. The basement was spacious. It even had several compartments for my wine collection and some off-season clothes. I like everything clean and organized. I pointed to a small room. "The medicine is in there." Everett searched for a while and quickly found a first aid kit. Ezra also walked in. I seized the moment and quickly pressed the button outside the door. The thick glass door shut instantly. I watched them from outside the glass door, smiling innocently yet cruelly. "Bye-bye." They wouldn't survive 3 days without food and water. Everett was furious. He pounded the glass door with his fists. But this was special glass, impervious to bullets, let alone fists. His fists began to crack, and blood stained the glass. I traced my fingertips over the bloodstains on the other side of the glass, then told him from my elevated position, "You've dirted my glass. You're punished to stay here then." Another fist swung. I took 2 steps back in fright. "But it's okay. He can't get out." I laughed maliciously and provocatively. 17. I watched them for a while, then prepared to go upstairs to get ready. In a few more days, I could move to a safer place. But just as I turned around, new noises came from behind me. "Ezra, Ezra." Everett turned to pull Ezra, whose body was convulsing constantly, and he looked in severe pain. His veins began to spread like ice cracks across his skin. He frantically scratched at his own body. Everett skillfully found some ropes and tied up his hands and feet. I watched, fascinated, tracing his bound form on the glass, and couldn't help but ask, "Is he turning into a zombie?" 18. Everett glanced at me but didn't answer. Ezra looked extremely pained. I said, "Once he becomes a zombie, the ropes won't hold him, will they? Then, you'll be dead soon. Staying in a confined space with a zombie, soon, you'll become one too. This way, I can move to a safe place sooner." I was obsessed with watching his agony. Faster, even faster. 19. Suddenly, the villa's doorbell rang. Startled, I went upstairs to check. The CCTV showed several unfamiliar men. They said, "Mr. Ian sent us to take you back. It's not safe out here." This Mr. Ian they mentioned was my father. But I had never seen these men before. They were also armed. My sixth sense told me not to open the door. I refused. "I'm fine here. No need for Mr. Ian to worry." Sure enough, they soon started to smash the door. "Just open the door nicely, won't you? Once we catch you, your end might be even worse. This is an era of chaos. Laws have become virtually obsolete. Everyone is magnifying their own evil desires." 20. I hid back in the basement after they smashed the front door. They wrecked everything in my little villa. They knocked over my dressing mirror, destroyed my vanity. My skincare products were scattered all over the floor. Expensive clothes were torn apart, and now they were starting to smash the basement door, and it would soon be broken. This is really troublesome. Trouble came sooner than I expected. 21. The moment they broke down the basement door, I gritted my teeth and opened the tightly closed glass door. I darted in at the fastest speed. After breaking into the basement, they quickly started smashing the glass door. The loud noise woke Ezra up. The cracks on his face began to fade, and his eyes started to focus. Strange, he seemed all right. And Everett, with his imposing figure, approached me with murderous intent in his eyes. "Is this your punishment too, Princess? This is bad. Things seem a bit out of control. I've locked myself in with 2 ferocious dogs." 22. Everett grabbed my neck. He was tall enough to easily lift me off the ground by my neck. I frantically kicked and scratched him, but it was useless. I might be dying soon. "Let her go. If she dies, we can't get out." Everett threw me on the ground. I breathed heavily, my throat burning painfully, and I had never felt breathing to be such a luxury. 23. Ezra untied the ropes on his body and walked towards me. He crouched down and looked at me, his fingers touching the marks on my neck, where goosebumps slowly appeared. I couldn't stop trembling. Fear kept rising in my heart, yet there was a hint of excitement. Am I going to die? Ezra gently picked me up. He carried me all the way to the glass door and pressed my face tightly against it. People outside were still banging on the door, the noise hitting me as if it were smashing directly into my face. I heard Ezra say, "Princess, tell me, how do we get out?" 24. As soon as I opened my mouth, intense pain surged. With a hoarse voice, I replied, "Guess." He pressed my face forcefully against the glass door, making it feel like my features were being flattened. Disgusting. There were still bloodstains left by Everett on the glass. I struggled free from his grip and then questioned him. "The people outside want my life, and probably yours too. Shall we open the door and face death together?" 25. There were 5 strong men outside. Everett picked up his axe and looked down at me from above. "Open the door." I wasn't ready to gamble. But Ezra's knife was already at my throat, such an annoying sensation. I pressed next to the glass door, and unlocking podium rose. I pressed my lips against it. Authentication successful. Ezra laughed, pinched the back of my neck, and pulled me aside, using a lip print as a key. Princess, you're quite adorable. Everett, holding the axe, stepped forward, standing like a wall before us. 26. I had no idea Everett was so formidable. 2 of the adversaries were quickly incapacitated. The remaining 3 were also injured, dragging their wounded bodies. They soon left. You'll pay for this. The people were gone. The knife and axe then turned towards me. Everett remained silent. Ezra said, Princess, maybe it's time to end your journey right here. 27. I said they couldn't kill me. This is my homestead. I've hidden a lot of supplies here. Without me to lead, no one could access the stockpile I've hoarded. Ezra. Your lip print. No, not just that. My lip print. Fingerprints. And even more skin patterns. If they kill me, they won't be able to access any supplies. Ezra, what a hassle. Everett, then let's kill her. Ezra, but serving a princess might be simpler than searching for supplies. 28. The homestead isn't just 100 acres, it's all cultivated land. The bunker I built over 3 years is beneath, with the entrance in the basement room they were in, so. My first instinct when in danger was to run to that room, I said. I built the bunker in the way ancient royal tombs were constructed. Ezra raised an eyebrow. Did you kill the builders afterward? Me. Each team only built a part, so they didn't know the complete layout. Everett. But many people would know you have a bunker. That's correct. Ezra. The princess seems somewhat clever, but not entirely. 29. In the apocalypse, the homestead was a coveted prize. At first, the chaos continued outside. Gradually, quite a few people drove toward the homestead. With Ezra and Everett there, the homestead temporarily maintained its previous order, because there were ample supplies, so everyone cooperated to clear the nearby zombies. They thought this was the last sanctuary, like an oasis in the desert, offering hope. 30. I lived in the villa with Ezra and Everett. Ezra frequently fell ill. Each time, icy blue cracks would appear on his skin, eerie yet enchanting. Everett would skillfully tie him up. He writhed painfully on my soft white carpet. His glasses were rubbed off at some point, revealing wet, puppy-like eyes, innocent and helpless. I watched his eyes, fascinated, tracing the icy cracks on his body with my fingertips. So beautiful. The touch was ice-cold, chilling to the bone. He said he was cold, then suddenly lunged forward and bit my shoulder. It hurts. Everett squeezed his jaw tightly, but he didn't let go. Blood streamed down from the corners of his mouth. Crying, I screamed. It hurts. Ezra bit down even harder. Everett held me from behind, his other hand futilely trying to pry Ezra's jaw open. The searing heat from Everett's body continuously transferred to me from behind, his voice resounding over my head. When he's like this, he's a beast. It was you who provoked him. Through tears, I asked, will I turn into a zombie too? I don't want to become one. It's too ugly. Ezra continued biting me. My bound body also struggled to cling onto him. It was as if instinctively drawing warmth. And his icy skin gradually began to warm. He then released his mouth and fell into a deep sleep. Everett lifted me away. He's recovering faster this time. I was still crying. My shoulder hurt so much. I really hate pain. Ezra lay asleep on the carpet. Everett was tending to my wounds. He unfastened my buttons one by one, pulling down the elegant princess dress from my shoulders, then dabbed hydrogen peroxide on my wounds to disinfect them. Ouch, it hurt more than Ezra's bite. Everett continued silently treating my wounds. I dissatisfiedly asked him, do you owe Ezra money? He looked up at me, a bit puzzled. I said, otherwise, why would you bring this mad dog everywhere? He pressed the cotton swab a bit harder on my wound, making me gasp in pain. He smiled, showing his bloodthirsty fangs. Princess. How do you know I'm not the mad dog? Mad dogs, all mad dogs. It hurts so much. My tears came again. Everett explained, I owe him my life. I won't abandon him. Ezra later said, it's not me who's afraid of being abandoned. It's him. Everett had once gone on a secret mission, and he was the one abandoned by his team, alone. He fought against monsters in a virus-infested laboratory. It was Ezra who saved him. Ezra, a biologist, had returned to the lab to retrieve something he'd left behind. He saved Everett, but got infected with the virus himself. He's been fighting the zombie virus inside him ever since. Maybe he would die any day now. And all I cared about was one thing. Ezra bit me. Am I going to die? Maybe. Then I fell ill, struck with a high fever. I slept a long time, faintly hearing Ezra and Everett talking. The virus in my body isn't contagious. She's fine. Then why won't she wake up? Maybe she was scared by you. What did you tell her? Princess, such a hassle. When I woke up again, I was in Everett's arms, shaky. His embrace was warm and broad, my face pressed against his firm and muscular chest. He was carrying me to the rooftop. Everett said, Ezra suggested you get some more sun. Fresh air is good for recovery. I lay dizzily in his arms. My feet felt cold. I was still in a nightgown, with bare legs. A slight chill brushed over them as the wind blew. He muttered, such a hassle. Then he laid me on a rooftop lounge chair and obediently went to find socks for me. I lay on the rooftop. The sun appeared only for a moment before thick clouds obscured it. Just like this apocalypse, Everett knelt on the ground, pious like a knight, his rough, broad hands, with their calluses, painfully rubbed against my legs as he helped me put on socks. Uncomfortably, I retracted my leg, but he mercilessly pulled it back. Somewhat annoyed, I kicked at his shoulder with my other foot, he said. "Stop it," I said. "What's on to Baskin on a cloudy day? I want to go back." He looked up at me, his dark eyes filled with indescribable emotions, reminiscent of the ominous calm before a storm. Only when the air around us seemed to thicken did he smile, revealing his sharp, bloodthirsty fangs. "As you wish, princess." He picked me up again, ready to descend the stairs. From afar, the sounds of noisy commotion reached us, including the roar of car engines and people shouting. Ezra appeared at the door, frowning as he said, "Stop fooling around, we've got work to do." Everett carried me straight outside. A large convoy had arrived at the entrance of our homestead. Leading them was my half-brother from the same father. My brother was shouting, "Open the gate for me, I'm your brother." Standing on the newly built watchtower with Ezra and Everett, I looked down at my disheveled half-brother and declared, "No." He was fuming outside, as dusk fell. My brother's convoy set up camp right outside. Everyone in our homestead had been vetted by Ezra and Everett. Some were workers I had previously employed, others had sought refuge at our homestead. Each person had a unique skill. I said, "Those outside, follow the rules. I won't intervene." Ezra gently touched my fluffy, soft, curly hair and said tenderly, "All right." Everett stood by, silently sharpening his axe. However, this time, while Ezra was observing, I decided to join him. I climbed the makeshift high watchtower. Everett followed with a cloak in hand. Just as I was about to reach the top, Ezra lifted me up. "Why are you here, princess?" After steadying myself and looking up, I gazed at the silhouette of my foolish brother outside the base. "I came because I wanted to." The night wind made me shiver. Just then, Everett climbed up and wrapped the cloak tightly around me, so tightly I almost couldn't breathe. I kicked him twice, but he quickly caught my legs and threw me to the ground. It hurt, tears sprung from my eyes. I thought my coccyx was broken. This mad dog, when crazed, even bites its owner. Ezra laughed and lifted me up. Being held high on the watchtower made me dizzy for a moment, and I clung tightly to his neck, afraid of falling. Ezra looked outside and said, "Did you come to see your brother? Should I make him kneel and beg you?" Outside the homestead, it was lively. The firelight illuminated the area brightly. Their faces showed no fear or numbness of an impending apocalypse. It was as if they were merely a group of people conducting a field study. They even began to analyze the surrounding soil and terrain. I saw my brother chasing a girl around, and everyone, including the girl, gathered around an older man. He appeared to be in his 50s, with white-flecked hair and wrinkles at the corners of his eyes, dressed simply. A typical intellectual. Occasionally, I could hear them calling him professor. "I had never seen anyone so respected in the apocalypse," Ezra remarked. "This is the most orderly convoy I've seen." They had prepared some supplies. Everyone collected their share methodically and orderly. Even my privileged brother only took what belonged to him. All this, because of the professor's presence. I wrapped myself in the cloak, snuggled into Everett's arms for warmth, and yawned, just a self-righteous guardian. That's all. Before the apocalypse, I had seen many like him. And after the apocalypse, it's hard not to want to tear away his hypocritical facade. After observing for a few days, Ezra told me, "Aside from your brother, it seems everyone else could be of some value to the base." I knew my brother was doing his PhD at a local university. He had bought his way in. His classmates and teachers, however, were genuinely qualified. After verifying everything according to the rules, the base opened its gates and let the convoy in. My brother, however, was left shouting at the gate, "Why won't you let me in? Do you know who I am?" I couldn't help but laugh. Of course, I knew. That was just my foolish brother, alone outside the gate. My brother was bewildered, having been pampered by Mr. In for over 20 years. He was used to being the center of attention. He started by cursing, then came the shouting, followed by crying. The professor realized he was locked out. The professor said, "We won't abandon anyone on the team if he can't get in. I'll leave with him." The others also expressed their willingness to leave together. Ezra said, "It's not that simple to come and go as one pleases." The group resisted fiercely, and Everett took the lead in putting them under house arrest. The foolish younger brother shivered outside. Zombies were particularly numerous at night. Being alone and too frightened to move, he was very likely to end up as zombie fodder. 44, Ezra, Everett, and I stayed in the watchtower until midnight. Finally, a zombie stumbled our way. My foolish brother was instantly jolted awake. He screamed and jumped around, only to be chased and bitten by the zombie. He cried out, "Professor, save me." Tearfully, he begged me, "Sis, please let me in. I'm scared." He ran half the night, too afraid to go far. Until at last, he could run no more and collapsed on the ground, crying so hard that his snot and tears mingled. Just as the zombie's hand was about to touch him, bang, Ezra blew the zombie's head off with a shotgun. The zombie's brains splattered all over my brother. My brother fainted from fright. The shotgun was loud, and covering my ears, I laughed heartily. Ezra is so good. My foolish brother had it coming. 45. Eventually, my brother was brought inside. I told him, everyone here has value. If you want to stay, you need to work. I threw him a hoe to till the ground. Unconvinced, my brother asked me, and what's your value? I hugged Everett and said, I've raised 2 vicious dogs. Seeing the strong Everett, my brother was angry but dared not speak. 46. In the end, everyone stayed, although there was resentment over the initial confinement. But with land and food here, no fool would leave willingly, Ezra said. Some of them are experts in agriculture, others in geology. Suddenly, the base was bustling with over 20 additional people. It felt livelier. These people were hardworking, optimistic, and proactive. They made the apocalypse feel less like an apocalypse. They said, darkness will eventually fade. We must hold on to the last light. But we were different. We had always lived in darkness. 47. As the weather turned colder, Ezra's episodes became more frequent. Previously it was once a week. Now, it was every 3 days. Everett would tie him up tightly when he struggled. The ropes would cut deeply into his pale, sickly skin, leaving red marks. I was fascinated as I traced the ice-like cracks on his body. He lunged ferociously at me, trying to bite. I dodged, and then personally put a muzzle on him that I had prepared. He roared from deep in his throat, the ropes binding him so tightly that even his sharp teeth were restrained. The pain made him tremble. His black-rimmed glasses had long been rubbed off, and his moist eyes looked like those of a dog begging for pity. I held him tightly, my fingers buried in his short hair, the icy cold from his body transferring to me. I couldn't help but shiver. So cold, Everett came over and silently embraced us from behind. His body was warm. Gradually, my body warmed up too. So did Ezra's. It turns out that huddling for warmth was indeed very warm. 48. I heard Everett's steady heartbeat behind me. His deep voice resonated in his chest. We hold each other's secrets. Tell us, what's your weakness? Ezra was especially vulnerable during his episodes. Everett feared abandonment and betrayal, and I placed my delicate neck in Everett's hands. I'm afraid of dying alone. I once witnessed my mother's death. In the vast emptiness of the large house, I spent a week with her corpse. By the time she was discovered, her body had begun to decay, and I had survived by gnawing on a large cabbage and drinking untreated water. During that time, my father, Mr. Ian, was with his new wife and their newborn son. The arrival of the professor transformed the base entirely. Everything was thriving. We were living as if in the Garden of Eden. After finishing his daily labor, the professor would tell stories and lead everyone in singing. Standing in front of the villa window, I watched them dance around the bonfire. The light of the fire illuminated everyone's smiling faces. Even my foolish younger brother seemed happy. The professor brought a sense of hope to our lives. He said, life may be tough, but we must never give up hope. It felt as if we had found a true oasis at the end of the world. Ezra wrapped his arms around me from behind, nibbling on my earlobe. He asked, what is the princess looking at? I asked him, do you dance? No. Then let me teach you. I don't really want to learn. No way. I make the rules. I began teaching Ezra the steps of ballroom dancing. He was quick to learn, being intelligent. Once he got the hang of it, I deliberately stepped on his foot, finding pleasure in his pained frown. Then he pushed me down, took off my high heels, and as his fingertips glided along my calf, he whispered gently in my ear, Princess, it's most beautiful to dance barefoot. I kicked him away. I don't want to dance anymore. Barefoot against his shod feet would be painfully unbearable. Everett was fiddling with a candle nearby. The candlelit room was slightly dim. Shadows of the 3 of us intertwined on the wall as the wind blew. Life inside the base seemed peaceful, but the outside world was already riddled with holes. The people who fled here became more and more ragged. They were gaunt, dressed in tatters, kneeling at the door begging to be let in. More and more people arrived, and so did the gathering zombies. We often stood on the high watchtower. We saw former tycoons kneeling down. Please let me in. I have gold and jewelry, and many valuable paintings. And former celebrities. Please, just give me something to eat. The apocalypse had overturned people's lives. The once rigid rules of wealth and class seemed to be reshaped. They stood below, looking up at us. We stood on the watchtower, watching people outside fight over a cookie while we enjoyed a refined afternoon tea above. The zombies outside were evolving. The threat of zombies and the infighting among humans made the stories at the base entrance increasingly thrilling. We watched for days, treating it as entertainment, until one day, Ezra said, the virus inside me has been unstable lately. I might need some rest. I agreed. Ezra had always been managing the affairs of the base. Everett was in charge of military suppression, and I was just a keeper of the warehouse keys. Ezra's sleeping hours began to increase. He usually slept during the day and occasionally woke up at night. The frost-like cracks on his body grew more numerous and seemed to cause him more pain. He often gasped for air suddenly, his body sweating coldly, tall and thin. He looked like a delicate, innocent young man without his glasses. I like to see him in pain. Don't go. I'm here. He clutched my arm tightly, like a drowning man grasping at straws. Everett approached with a rope. He might hurt you. Step back. My pale arm bore the striking, bright red marks of his nails. I wiped away the tears of pain and shook my head. I want to see. Everett, holding the rope, stood watching us. The flicker of candlelight reflected in his eyes as he taunted. The princess, always weak yet fond of games, but one day, Ezra suddenly got better. He stopped having his episodes, his strength increased, and so did his speed. It was as though he was evolving like a zombie, yet he bore no traits of a zombie. Ezra explained, the zombie virus in me was treated with an experimental drug, but the effects of the drug are still unstable. By a stroke of luck, he had achieved the ideal state that the virus developers had hoped for. When a certain country developed the virus, their intention was to use it in warfare. To create soldiers with greatly enhanced physical functions. I chuckled. If it had worked on Everett, he might have been invincible. It's almost a waste on you. Everett was the real combatant. Ezra, on the other hand, had always relied on his intellect. Ezra crushed a walnut and said, indeed, unlike a princess, lacking both brains and brawn, the zombies at the base entrance needed to be cleared regularly. Everett used to lead the team for this task. This time Ezra said, let me do it. Clearing zombies brought more rewards and supplies, so many in the base took the risk. Including the professor's colleagues and students, every zombie clearing resulted in casualties, and one of the professor's students got bitten. Lying on the ground, the student's pupils began to gray, his body convulsed continuously, and his veins started to bulge. These were signs of turning into a zombie. A fellow student, wiping away tears, followed the main group inside. By the time the gate closed, the student on the ground had turned into a zombie. He got up confusedly, wandered around the entrance of the base for a while, and then staggered outside. Ezra, standing in the tower, shot him with a soil gun. Bang! The tearful student rushed up to the tower, screaming. No, he was leaving. Why did you have to kill him? Ezra didn't explain, just gave a provocative smile. The student grew even angrier. But the apocalypse is cruel. If that zombie had left, it might have turned many more into zombies. These students still carried a bit of naive idealism from their ivory towers. This cruel scene brutally exposed the harsh reality to everyone. The professor didn't blame anyone but started working on some protective gear. He said, we can't let fear stop us from moving forward, but we can prepare more thoroughly for the unpredictable future. Yet, the group of students started to resent Ezra. My foolish brother, too, was influenced by their animosity. Whenever he saw Ezra, he would curse. Just a mad dog of my sister. If it were before the apocalypse, you wouldn't even be able to touch a toe of our family. I slapped my foolish brother. He rushed at me but was kicked away by Everett. I said, even a mad dog is mine. What right do you have to insult him? I'm your real brother, but you're not even worth my mad dog. The base was gradually growing stronger. Other bases were also being established. There were frequent wars over resources between bases. I, along with Ezra and Everett, often went out to reap the spoils of these conflicts. When both sides were nearly beaten, Ezra would inform us of their location, and we would lead our group out. Soon, rumors and curses about us spread outside. The princess and her two mad dogs are running amok in the apocalypse. Running amok. They are more terrifying than the zombies themselves. The professor came to advise me, humans should not turn on each other. We should spend more time eliminating zombies and storing food. I shook my head, but if we don't participate in these struggles, one day when they grow strong, they will come to attack us. The professor was an idealist in the apocalypse. He longed for and guarded the light, but someone always has to confront the darkness. In this world where communication was nearly destroyed, Ezra's information was as fast as before the apocalypse. I asked him why. He said, when I want to know something, it just appears in my mind. Lately, my head's been really hurting. I touched his neatly cut short hair, growing a brain. Ezra pretended to be angry, pinning me down. Princess, you've become quite bold lately. I wrapped my arms around his neck and laughed. Maybe it's because you guys spoil me. I've raised two mad dogs. I can do whatever bad things I want without any consequences. Ezra, a triangle is the most stable structure. We are interconnected with each other. Everett gently stroked my hair. If one person betrays, additionally, the other two plan to kill him together. 60. The weather is getting colder. The biting cold wind feels as if it's slicing off chunks of flesh from any exposed skin. More and more starving people are gathering outside the door. Their eyes gleam with a hungry, greenish light. The extreme cold has also destroyed many crops. I have no choice but to open my bunker and dig deep for the food I had stored. 61. Inside the base. Food is being cooked. The aroma wafts into the sky outside the base. Starving people bang frantically on the base's door. They look more terrifying than zombies. My foolish brother shivers, saying, a zombie might just bite me, but they would strip the flesh off my bones. Ezra and Everett decide to take people to clear the starving crowd at the door. Homemade guns and bows are ready. The professor rushes over, kneeling before us. Please don't resort to violence. I beg you. His students follow suit. Also kneeling, even my brother bows his head before me. Sis. Please spare them. I kick my brother's back with the tip of my shoe and ask, tilting my head, why, if we don't clear them out, they might just break down the base's door. 62. My brother looks at me with disgust, saying, killing people is wrong. That was a rule before the apocalypse. The only rule after the apocalypse is, keep yourself alive. My naive brother still doesn't seem to understand what an apocalypse means. I kick the professor kneeling at the front. The people behind him immediately stand up, angry. The professor shakes his head, and they suppress their anger, standing by, looking closely at the professor. He has aged a lot since he first arrived. His once salt and pepper hair is now completely white, and his wrinkled face has more lines than before. His white shirt has turned yellow from washing. Only his eyes remain as I first saw them, filled with tolerance, compassion, and kindness. He says, you don't have to help them. But please don't kill them. 63. We hadn't yet made a move. Suddenly, a wave of zombies approached the perimeter of the base. The horde of zombies was overwhelming. The starving people on the outer layer quickly became part of the zombie army. Ezra nods. Good thing we had the starving people, otherwise, it would have been us. Then Ezra and Everett fire the weapons they had prepared at the approaching zombies. These were initially meant to drive away the starving people. Now they serve well to eliminate the zombies. I express my gratitude to the professor. Thankfully, you persuaded us, saving the base from significant damage. My brother is petrified by the horrific scene outside. The professor sits on the watchtower, covering his aged face as he cries. I can't save them. Under the apocalypse, no one is responsible for the life or death of others. Yet, the professor still adheres to his principles. He says, the true apocalypse is the extinction of humanity. I reply, then perhaps in our world, it has long been the apocalypse. 64. The professor and those students are mostly useful. Perhaps this is the power of knowledge. They know how to grow the most food, saving us a lot of trouble. This allows me and Ezra Everett more time to fend off zombies. Ezra hugs me, nuzzling his head against me. My head is starting to hurt again, as if someone is constantly talking inside. I stroke his hair. What are they saying? Turn over, attack. Everett looks out the window, pointing at the base entrance. Like that, zombies climb over the tall city walls. They pile on top of each other, unaware of pain. They rise and wreak havoc in my 100-acre estate. Get up. It's time to fight the zombies. 65. Ezra says he can hear the zombies speak. I thought he was sick and touched his forehead. Everett thinks for a moment and says, maybe it's true. These zombies seem to be targeting the base. I've never seen them so united before. I ponder for a moment, asking, can you communicate with them? I'll try. We're like three people who aren't quite right in the head. They were doing something quite unconventional. As a result, the zombie horde receded, Ezra said. I told them in my mind to leave, and then, they really did leave. I scratched my head. Even in fighting zombies, we're playing spy games. 66. Ezra, I need to step out for a bit. Everett, I'll come with you. I looked at them. You're not planning to leave me behind, are you? Ezra said he wanted to check out a gathering spot for zombies, which was dangerous. Everett, we've said it before, no abandoning or betraying me. If you guys die, I'll just enjoy life alone in the bunker. I felt somewhat happy, but also a bit hollow inside, for some reason. My eyes felt warm. Ezra bent down and kissed away my tears. Then let's go together. 67. We discovered something interesting on the road. Ezra, I can control the lower-level zombies. A few scattered zombies were walking on the road. Ezra said, stop. And those few zombies really did stop. Curious, I tugged at him to command the zombies. Make them turn left. Some zombies turned left, others turned right. I laughed heartily. Even as zombies, they can't tell left from right. Then I pulled Ezra along, having the zombies turn left and right for half an hour. Eventually, Everett had to carry me away. If we keep playing, it'll be dark soon. I left reluctantly. 68. We drove near our destination, Ezra said. I can feel many zombies nearby, including a high-level one. How high-level, Ezra? I can't control him. It seems zombies have a specific way of communicating. Only when close enough can they sense each other's presence. Our approach also made that zombie leader sense the danger. Ezra, he's getting angry. Let's go. Ezra drove. Everett handled the occasional attacking zombies. We raced away. The zombie leader and his horde followed us in a mighty procession. I leaned back in the rear seat and couldn't help but exclaim, this is thrilling. Ezra, furiously steering, responded, Princess, it will be even more thrilling if we three perish in the zombie horde. Everett raised his hand, shooting a zombie. Then the princess would be the trendiest zombie, trendily causing arthritis. Me, 69. Ezra and Everett took turns driving. I said, aren't we going back to the base? Ezra flashed a mischievous smile that had been long absent. Let's swing by someone else's base. Soon, the zombie horde passed by various bases, causing chaos everywhere. Many bases joined the fight. With their reluctant help, the horde chasing us gradually thinned. But the curses at us increased. I saw the princess and her two mad dogs leading the zombie horde to attack other bases, utterly ruthless. But how do they control the horde? Madmen and zombies speak the same language, I guess. 70 later, the zombie horde attacked several more bases, but once inside those bases, the horde quickly dispersed. They said it felt like the horde was searching for someone. I analyzed. Maybe the zombie king feels threatened by your presence. Everett nodded in agreement. I sighed. Even as zombies, they vie for power, so how can we humans not compete? 71. The rapid evolution of zombies in the presence of a zombie king made human survival increasingly difficult. Even our base was attacked several times. When the zombie horde attacked, I locked Ezra in the bottom of the bunker. I told him, "Don't let the zombie king find you, or our base is finished." Ezra's gaze fixed on me dangerously. Because the horde had already come 3 times, and I had locked him up 3 times. Seeing his displeasure made me feel quite pleased. 72. Once the zombie king left, I opened the bunker's door and went with Everett to fetch him. He lay with his eyes closed in the empty bunker. The white tiles reflected the shadows of the luxurious chandelier. He wore a loose red sweater, lying as if in a pool of blood. His skin was unnaturally pale, his shoulders slim yet broad, and his sweater was torn at the shoulder, revealing a protruding collarbone. I uncontrollably reached out to touch that collarbone. He opened his eyes suddenly, just as he had the first time we met, but this time, he pulled me into his embrace and held me tight, saying, "We need to settle this once and for all." The zombie king had made several attempts already, and he couldn't take it anymore. I kissed him on the neck and replied, "Okay, we were planning something big. We bought a lot of oil from several bases. Then we drove our off-road vehicle straight to the zombie king's lair." The enraged zombie king charged out of his lair. A massive horde of zombies followed him. We parked our car on a high hillside. Below the hill was a huge pit we had dug in advance. Everett, holding a torch in the night, was like a messenger carrying the torch of hope. Ezra said, "Jump." The zombies behind the zombie king jumped into the pit like dumplings dropping into boiling water. Everett threw his torch down, igniting the oil in the pit. The flames lit up the sky, brightening the entire apocalyptic night. The zombie king roared in fury, but the zombies kept jumping down, like moths to a flame. I laughed loudly from the side. Beautiful, like hellfire consuming all sins, and like the final sunset outlining our madness. The horde of zombies jumped uncontrollably into the pit. The zombie king launched an attack on us. I watched the battle from the roof of the car. Everett wielded an axe, Ezra held a knife. Just like when we first met, the zombie king was very strong, even on his own. Ezra and Everett were both injured. Everett struck the zombie king several times with his axe. Eventually, the zombie king seemed to realize something and charged directly at me. "Princess, run." Amidst the shouts of Ezra and Everett, the zombie king bit into my arm. Ezra's knife pierced the zombie king's heart. Everett's axe aimed for the zombie king's neck. He dodged slightly and bit Ezra too, but after biting Ezra, he convulsed as if poisoned and fell down, slowly turning to ash. I collapsed in agony, wondering why the zombie king didn't just bite Ezra directly, making me suffer too, and how toxic Ezra's blood must be to have poisoned the zombie king. Everett carried me to the car. Ezra drove furiously through the night, as we passed various bases. There were curses everywhere. "Princess and her 2 mad dogs are at it again. Stay alert. Driving so wildly in the middle of the night. Are you looking for death? Hey, why is there a fire over there? Such a big blaze. Did they just pass by? Why did they run off?" Princess and her 2 mad dogs setting fires in the middle of the night and then fleeing. "Boss, they might be showing off their new car. I heard they bought a lot of oil earlier. Who can see their crappy car in the middle of the night?" Ezra floored the accelerator, racing back to the base, heading straight for the bunker in the small villa. Everett, carrying me, followed behind. "Princess, don't sleep. Don't sleep. You'll be all right soon." I felt terrible. My body alternated between hot and cold, occasionally convulsing, every muscle in pain. But why were they in such a rush? Didn't they want me dead from the start? I cried. "Everett, it hurts so much." Everett held me tight. Ezra frantically searched for something. I heard crashing noises, something breaking. Suddenly, Everett let go of me. He also started convulsing, and through my dimming vision, I saw him collapse in pain. It seemed like we were both turning into zombies. I felt something like an injection into my body. It felt like raindrops on my face. Not raindrops, but salty. Ezra's voice sounded as if from a great distance. "Don't die. Don't die. I'm sorry. I'd rather hide forever in the bunker. I was wrong. I shouldn't have gone after the zombie king. Don't die." Everett gasped. "This time, it might be me who leaves first. Thank you for not abandoning or betraying me." And there I was, crying. "Ezra, it hurts so much. But thank you for not letting me die alone." The wound on my arm burned with pain. Yet, I was no longer that afraid. Everett was by my side on this journey. Ezra would bury our bodies. I wouldn't die unnoticed. It felt good. Thank you all. Ezra cried his heart out. I gave you the injection I had before. You won't die. You can't. Princess, get up. I want to dance with you. Everett, get up. We still have revenge to seek. I felt like I was running out of breath. My thoughts were fading away. Ezra stopped crying. He wiped his tears. If you die, I'll hand over the base to the professor. Then I'll come down and join you. Everything in the bunker will be theirs. But make sure our names are engraved on the monument. I want everyone to remember, the princess and her 2 mad dogs, our madness, as absurd as this apocalypse, the princess and her 2 mad dogs saved the apocalypse, they killed the zombie king, they wiped out most of the zombie horde, Ezra's concoction, though it had side effects, could save some of those bitten, the princess and Everett lay sleeping in the bunker, Ezra was waiting for them to wake up. Most of the base's affairs had been handed over to the professor, and the professor, busy coordinating alliances between several bases, Ezra said, we belong to an order of darkness, and the advent of light needs to be brought about by those of the light, Ezra had just seen off some people who came for supplies. He walked deep into the bunker, combing the princess's hair. It's been a month. Your hair will get naughty, and you'll get uglier, princess. The princess's fingers twitched slightly. Ezra immediately grabbed her hand. A few coughs sounded from behind. Ezra turned around, facing a pair of deep eyes. Long time no see, Ezra, and in his hand, the princess's forefinger gently hooked his, and, in a former life, the apocalypse arrived, and zombies roamed everywhere, creating crises at every turn. My sister and I, while fleeing, were brought to a base to settle down. The once esteemed socialite of the capital, known as the Wild Rose of Jing Circle, scornfully mocked us as mere playthings, only capable of surviving by currying favor with men, with a dismissive gesture. She pointed us out to the hungry wolves of the base, lacking special abilities and unwilling to serve multiple men. I died on the spot by crashing into something. After death, as a spirit, I watched my sister endure endless humiliation in the base to survive, eventually being toyed with to death. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to the day we first arrived at the base. I decided to gamble on a future for my sister and me. If we were to seek protection, it should be from the top quality men. The leader of the base, admired by the Wild Rose of Jing Circle, seemed a good target to win over. Oh, his title, Prince of Jing Circle, even matched hers. Did they not get the memo when the Qing dynasty fell? Bringing back another woman. Donovan, another one without abilities. Can't you bring back some people with abilities for our base instead of all these troublesome women? A coquettish yet unmistakably haughty voice rang out. I turned and saw a stunning, exquisite face, Georgia. A pre-apocalypse heiress and known as the Wild Rose of Jing Circle, remained refined and beautiful even in these dire times. At that moment, my sister and I, covered in dirt and in disheveled states, starkly contrasted her pristine appearance. Holding my sister's hand tightly, my body trembled slightly. She thought I was scared and gently patted my back to comfort me. Only I knew the truth. I was shocked and relieved, having been reborn on the very day we arrived at the base. Meanwhile, Donovan, with a mischievous smile, quipped, Madam, have some sympathy for the brothers here, each one as fierce as a tiger, clamoring for women. What's wrong with them not having abilities? Our base can surely support them. I found his words distasteful, but this was the harsh reality. My sister and I, lacking special abilities, were only brought back because the base was short of women. In the apocalypse, women without or with low abilities were reduced to mere objects, after all. Leaving the basement facing either starvation or zombies, a certain death. That doesn't mean you should bring back just anyone, Georgia snapped. At her words, my sister shuddered. I kept my head down, hoping Georgia would leave. In my past life, because I had retorted to her comment, she had thrown my sister and me to a group of men to be toyed with at their pleasure. Unable to bear the humiliation, I had killed myself. After death, I watched my sister serving 5 to 8 men daily until she too couldn't endure any longer and died at the base. This time, without saying a word, Georgia didn't leave but instead looked disdainfully at us and sneered. Why keep your heads down? Too ugly to show your faces. Rest assured, the hungry wolves here, as long as it's a female, they all vie for it. But, Georgia said with a smile, her malice seeming to blend into the air and seep into my body, but, those like you who sell their bodies for men's protection, it's not easy either. Who asked you to be so useless, only able to survive by pleasing men? My usually gentle sister suddenly lifted her head and stared intently at Georgia. My heart skipped a beat, and I stepped in front of her. Georgia narrowed her eyes, looking at my sister and me, and then said, Donovan, let me handle these two. Donovan seemed reluctant, and I could tell he felt differently about me, but just like in the past life, when Georgia glared fiercely and said petulantly, What, are you going to fall out with me over these two women, or do you think I would do something to them? Donovan immediately compromised, Of course not. Then you take care of them first. Go to Uncle Jean to arrange their dormitory. Let them stay in dormitory too. At the critical moment, I called out to Donovan, I want to join the search and rescue team. The search and rescue team faces many dangers. No one outside can look after you. Without special abilities, it's almost certain death. Donovan said calmly. I held my sister's hand tightly and declared, I have awakened my special ability. Then, I formed an icicle in the palm of my left hand. Surprising Donovan, an ice ability. It wasn't really an ice ability. I had just felt like I had awakened some psychic ability, but that would be my secret. I nodded, acknowledging it was an ice ability. Ice abilities are quite special and offensive. Georgia looked at me with disdain. So what if it's an ice ability? So weak, such a thin icicle. Did forming just that little bit of ice exhaust your energy? I looked down and asked softly, can I join the search and rescue team? Donovan smiled brightly. Of course, you can. Follow me. We gather at the first team meeting point tomorrow morning at 7. I had initially planned to take a chance with the search and rescue team, then kill lower-level zombies, consume their crystal cores, stimulate myself, and change my physique. Unexpectedly, I had awakened an ability after rebirth, which made things easier. Only by joining the search and rescue team would I have a chance to get close to the person Georgia cared about. Easton. After hearing that I wanted to join the search and rescue team, Georgia's expression flickered briefly, then she didn't mention taking charge of me and my sister again. I thought she must be plotting something else. Even now that I was so submissive, she still wanted to throw my sister and me to those despicable men. Could it be our faces that threatened her? Even the wild rose of Beijing isn't so confident after all. I insisted that my sister join me in scouting for supplies and checking the outside situation. The search and rescue team leaves early and returns late, and before setting off, each person is given a bun or other dry food, enough for a meal. Donovan gave me a military knife and my sister a rusty ordinary knife, for self-defense. My sister and I thanked Donovan as we boarded the search team's truck. An SUV roared past us with Easton and Georgia inside. My sister and I were in the same vehicle as Donovan, followed by an even more dilapidated truck. Donovan's position in the base was not low. Donovan said today we would go to Ling City. After arriving at our destination, we could either act individually or in teams. Upon reaching L City, I declined Donovan's invitation to team up. He mentioned it casually, mainly because he was somewhat displeased that I had brought my sister out of the base. She was supposed to stay at the base today to maintain her innocence. When parting ways with Donovan, he said, make sure you come back alive. If you can't handle the hardships of the search and rescue team, let me know tonight. If I can't handle the hardships of the search and rescue team, I'll have to endure the hardships of serving men. I understand. After Donovan left, my sister became extremely nervous yet still stood in front of me with a small knife, vigilantly looking around. Suddenly, a strange noise and foul smell drifted our way. Zombies were approaching. I pushed my sister aside. Hide well, sis. 2 low-level zombies approached us, not wanting to cause me trouble. My sister hid on the side, waiting for the right moment to strike. I, gripping a military knife, charged at the zombies. I summoned my mental power, driving the knife fiercely into the head of a zombie. My sister rushed over and stabbed the other zombie's eyes with her rusty knife. I quickly pulled out the knife and pierced the brain of the other zombie, splattering disgusting goo all over my sister's face. Meanwhile, I extracted a small crystal core from the head of the low-level zombie. I also extracted the crystal core from the other zombie. I was tempted to swallow both cores at once, but thinking of my sister, I gave one to her. She frowned. Can we eat this? It might have the zombie virus. We can't worry about that now. I need to get stronger. My sister wiped her face and nodded. Okay, I'll join you. In fact, I had cleansed both cores with my mental power, perhaps purifying them. Although I was still not very familiar with my own abilities, time was pressing. This time, I wasn't out to gather supplies, but to enhance my abilities and secure a better position at the base. I instructed my sister to hide well. I felt increasingly adept at killing, quickly dispatching over a dozen low-level zombies. I swallowed all their crystal cores and then took a moment to digest them. I could clearly feel my powers growing stronger. The air contained water molecules. With my mental powers, I could manipulate water and turn it into ice. I decided to let everyone assume I had ice-related abilities. My senses became incredibly sharp. In an instant, I was standing in front of my sister, who was visibly startled. Using a control technique, I looked into her eyes and commanded, "Lift the knife and stab me." Confused, she followed my command and lunged at me with the knife. I grabbed her hand and knocked her out. Truly, my mental abilities were strong. Suddenly sensing danger, I quickly hid my sister and ran out. The newcomers were not zombies but members of a search and rescue team. Pretending not to notice them, I walked away in the opposite direction, feigning a search. 2 figures approached me. I swiftly turned around. One had a cold expression, while the other, with a greedy look, blurted out, Let me have my fun with her before we kill her, it'd be a shame otherwise. The man with the cold face showed impatience. Hurry up and don't cause unnecessary trouble. The men were out to kill me. I'm also from Base Y. What are you trying to do? I retreated in fear, simultaneously unleashing my powers, sending a thin ice spike towards the lecherous man. A sleazy man suddenly grabbed my icicle, his laughter growing more lewd. Sweet sister, stop struggling. Your feeble powers are just tickling me. As the sleazy man lunged at me, making unwelcome advances, he looked back at the cold-faced man and said, "Can't she stay with me? I'll take her with me. She's so lively." The cold-faced man rolled his eyes. "She's just a woman. Anyone Georgia hates must die. If it's women you want, I'll find you another one later." Tears fell from my eyes. The sleazy man looked momentarily regretful, then excited again, grabbing at my clothes. At that moment, I unleashed my psychic power and took control of him, commanding him to kill the cold-faced man. With all my might, I controlled the sleazy man. As the cold-faced man was caught off guard, a knife was thrust into his chest. He had fire-based powers, but I continued to manipulate the will of the sleazy man, hurling a massive fireball at the cold-faced man, while I thrust a military knife fiercely into his chest. The cold-faced man died with his eyes wide open, and the sleazy man, still in a daze, was also ended by my knife. I ran back, picked up my sister, and quickly fled the scene. Remember that day, a zombie horde had erupted outside, the perfect cover to wash away any suspicions. We plunged into the horde and met up with Easton and the others. Suddenly, I sensed a heavy sound from a direction and instantly decided to shove my sister into a corner to awaken her. "Sis, hide here and take care of yourself. I'll go check it out." My sister didn't cause any trouble, just nodded heavily, asking me to be careful. I handed her the sharp military knife and took her rusty small knife. A lone zombie came our way. Perfect timing. I ran out, leading the zombie towards the site of the zombie outbreak, an old food factory. Easton and others were already fighting the zombies, as the name zombie horde implies. The area was densely packed with zombies like a tidal wave, various powers flying around, chased by the zombie. I also ran to join Easton and the others. At first, I blended in, scavenging numerous cores from the dead zombies and hiding them. As the zombies were gradually being killed off, to avoid exposure, I stopped scavenging and released countless ice swords to kill the zombies. Then I heard someone calling me. It was Donovan. "Haley, come over here," while fighting off the surrounding zombies. I moved closer to them, but my attention was constantly on Easton at the center of the zombie crowd. Easton, a fire power user, summoned a dragon of fire that soared up and incinerated a long line of zombies. More and more zombies fell. In a critical moment, as Easton continued using his powers, a nimble zombie suddenly circled to his back, extending claws like a werewolf's. I immediately rushed over and tackled Easton. "Be careful." I hugged Easton tightly from behind, shielding him from the zombie's attack. Using my psychic power, I also shielded myself, but the zombie's sharp claws still scratched my back. Easton reacted quickly, holding me with one arm while he tore off the zombie's claw with his bare hand, taking some effort to kill the zombie. Enduring the pain, I broke free from Easton and continued fighting the zombies with everyone else. I felt a resentful gaze fixed on me, and looking up, sure enough, it was Georgia. After injuring his back, Easton has been keeping a watchful eye on our side. Eventually, we managed to eliminate this wave of zombies, leaving everyone completely drained and their abilities spent. Georgia originally possessed healing and fire abilities. After the zombies were dealt with, she was the first to rush over to treat Easton's wounds. Easton looked towards me and said, "Treat her first." The zombie that injured her was a 4th tier one. No wonder the zombie's body didn't appear decayed like typical zombies. It was almost like a normal human. With incredibly tough skin and wolf claw-like arms, Georgia arrogantly lifted her chin. "I won't heal someone who's neither here nor there. Donovan can take care of his own woman." Hearing Georgia refer to me as his woman, Donovan chuckled. "Georgia, do it for me, please. If I had healing abilities, I'd have used them on her already. Go find Freya for healing." Easton frowned, looking at the proud Georgia, his tone a mix of helplessness and indulgence. "Georgia, stop it. She got hurt trying to save me. Freya's abilities aren't as strong as yours." With a snort, Georgia then turned to me. "Drop your petty tricks." Besides his fire ability, Easton's physical strength and defense have also evolved to the extreme. That claw couldn't have hurt him. What were you really trying to protect? Don't think I don't know. This time, I'll heal you for the sake of Easton and Donovan, but you better behave yourself from now on. And you, Donovan, take care of your own woman. The pain in my back was numbing, and looking at the haughty Georgia, I suddenly smiled. Donovan saved me and my sister and brought us back to the base, and that's all there is to it. You keep calling me Donovan's woman. By your logic, since I saved Easton, does that make Easton my man? Georgia's face turned ashen with anger, about to insult me, but I looked at Easton and spoke first. "Sorry, Easton, I meant no disrespect. Also, I wasn't aware of how strong your evolved body was." It was a critical moment, and I acted on instinct. If it had been someone else in danger, I would have done the same. I didn't intend to use myself as a shield. It was just that I had no better option at the time. Plus, I don't understand when I ever offended Genevieve to warrant such bias and hostility from her, but I know Genevieve holds a significant position at Y Base. Since Genevieve is unwelcoming towards my sister and me, we will leave Y Base. Just then, my sister suddenly appeared and ran towards me. The knife I had given her was clearly used. It turned out she had been hiding and also killed a zombie. Her hands were whitened from exertion. Seeing me injured, she hugged me and started crying. I handed back the knife Donovan had given to my sister and me, planning to leave with her. When the usually silent Easton finally spoke up, "There's no need to leave. Within 100 miles. Even throughout the apocalypse, Y Base is renowned. Whether it's the abilities of its members or the resources and treatment they receive, it stands out. Haley, since you have abilities, why not stay?" Donovan also added, Yes, Haley, please stay. Georgia is proud and direct, but she means no harm. Don't take it to heart. You really made a significant contribution today, taking down so many zombies. Easton surely won't shortchange you, right now. No one knows when the next wave of zombies will hit or how large it will be. It's safer to stay with us. What do you mean? If she wants to leave, let her go. Georgia was visibly upset and suddenly said, You just came from that direction, right? I remember Easton and Elias went there too. Why didn't I see them? Could it be that you killed them? Donovan suddenly remarked, Right, I was about to ask that. Where did Easton go? With the zombie outbreak, that guy is nowhere to be found to lend a hand. Georgia pointed at me and asked, Was it you, Easton? This woman is definitely suspicious. She pretended to be weak yesterday and Donovan brought her back. Then she immediately claimed to have special abilities, asking to join the search and rescue team. Now, she mysteriously shows up and saves you. Don't you think all of this is too coincidental? My sister, trembling with anger, stood in front of me. I've been with my sister the whole time. After we separated from Donovan, we encountered a few zombies. My sister killed them by herself. Later, when more zombies appeared, she told me to hide and she led them away. She was clearly being chased by zombies when she came here. I was worried about her and followed quietly. Since she didn't want to cause any trouble, she hid. She only awakened her abilities yesterday, yet she dared to rush into the zombie horde today and fight. How can you accuse her like this? We don't even know the two men you mentioned. Georgia scoffed. Just go over there and see for yourself. Easton and Elias can't just vanish into thin air. My sister still didn't know that I had killed Easton and the other. Defiant and fearless, she stood in front of me, insisting we had never met those men. Genevieve, I've been wanting to ask you something. Yesterday, when Donovan brought me and my sister back to the base, you despised and humiliated us, and even asked Donovan for people. Were you thinking of throwing me and my sister to the men, making us playthings at the base? The first time we met, you said that women like us could only survive by pleasing men. Because of what you said, I decided to join the search and rescue team, even though my abilities are weak. I wanted to prove myself and work hard to kill zombies and enhance my abilities. Is it because you couldn't make me and my sister serve the men at the base that you are so aggressive? George's expression changed. Meanwhile, I quietly used my mental power, and my back wound hurt more. My sister suddenly exclaimed, Yancy, there's so much blood on your back. My clothes were soaked with blood, and I tried to hold on, pulling my sister to leave. However, just as I took a step, I collapsed and passed out. I hadn't really fainted. I knew I was caught in a broad embrace. Was it Donovan or Easton? Easton and Elias's bodies were found, but no one except Georgia thought I had killed them. Easton argued. Easton had strong abilities. I couldn't possibly have killed him. Moreover, they looked like they had fought each other, as there were signs of burns from fire abilities on Easton's body. I woke up on a soft bed, with my sister watching over me by the bedside. And she told me about what had happened with Easton and the others. My sister mentioned that this was our room now. We had a single room, and the environment looked quite nice. In addition to that, they also provided us with daily necessities. I sat up and noticed that the injury on my back was mostly healed. My sister told me that it was someone named Emerson from the base who had treated me. There was a disagreement between Georgia and Easton had Emerson treat me. When my sister mentioned Emerson, her eyes lit up. She said that Emerson was the most skilled healer with special abilities at Base Y, even better than Georgia. I smiled and told my sister that I wanted to see Easton. By then, it had gotten dark. The building where my sister and I stayed still had lights on, and there was even an elevator. We were indeed assigned to a nice place. At the elevator, we ran into Donovan. It seemed like Donovan had come to see me. I told him I wanted to see Easton, and his expression turned a bit sour, but he still led my sister and me to him. Easton also lived in this building, at the very top floor. It seemed he was the only one living on that floor, fitting for the leader of Base Y. His residence was extremely luxurious, equipped with everything one could need, much better than where my sister and I lived before the apocalypse. Easton was in the living room. Apparently on a video call, he asked us to sit on the sofa and wait for a bit. As I passed by Easton, I saw a face on the screen. Before I could get a clear look, I felt a gaze from the screen looking right at me, sending a shiver through my body despite the distance. Such an intimidating presence, such a commanding gaze. I then heard Donovan greet the person on the screen respectfully, saying, "Hello, Mr. Chi." It appeared that Donovan also knew the person on the other side of the screen. Someone my sister and I had never met or heard of in our past lives. Easton quickly ended the video call. With a cigarette in his mouth, he approached us and raised an eyebrow, asking, "What's up?" His demeanor was cool, quite a match for Georgia. "Easton, I would like to request a position for my sister in the logistics department." Easton glanced at my sister and then nodded. "Sure," I added. "Actually, my sister is very talented, diligent, and eager to learn. She would definitely be competent in the logistics department." Easton hummed in acknowledgement. "So you want me to arrange a management position for your sister?" My sister timidly raised her hand. "Easton, I actually majored in logistics management, although my sister and I had just finished our freshman year when the apocalypse broke out, and now it was already the second year of the apocalypse," Easton casually said. "Then go manage the warehouse. Donovan, check with Old Wang to see which warehouse needs people." Donovan nodded in agreement, and I breathed a sigh of relief. Easton looked at me leisurely. "Anything else?" "Yes. Can I talk to you alone?" Easton smirked, motioned for Donovan and my sister to leave, and then sat down beside me, leaning back on the sofa. Easton flicked his lighter open with a snap, lit his cigarette, and amidst swirling smoke, he asked me, "No, what is it?" "Haley, I want that level 4 zombie's crystal nucleus." That statement changed Easton's expression. "You knew I took the zombie crystal nucleus," I guessed. "Could you give it to me? I just want to enhance my own abilities. If not, no worries. Sorry to bother you." Easton looked at me scrutinizingly. "You know that a zombie crystal nucleus can enhance abilities. Do you also know that it comes with risks, containing zombie virus? Aren't you afraid of getting infected?" "I am, but I want to become stronger." Georgia mentioned the plight of women in the base who either lacked supernatural abilities or had very weak ones. Serving 5 or 6 men in a day was considered lucky. To put it crudely, they were treated as tools for satisfying desires. I don't want to become such a tool, nor do I want my sister to end up like that. Last night, my sister and I stayed in a dormitory that housed many others, but it was just us in the room. The other girls didn't return until the next morning, and their appearances. At this point, Easton understood. "You're doing this for your sister. She doesn't have any supernatural abilities, so you're fighting so hard. For my sister, and for myself. In my past life, after my death, my sister was passed between many men, living a life of unbearable pain, but I knew she kept going for me, hoping for revenge. As a spirit, I often saw her crying in the dead of night, calling out my name, vowing to get close to Georgia, even if it meant going down with her. Unfortunately, the men she was involved with were of low status within the base. She died before she ever got a chance to approach higher-level men." Returning to the present, I looked at Easton and said softly, "She's the only family I have left." Easton chuckled lightly. "You really are a saint. I can't imagine how you two sisters have survived these past years. I now believe your motive for saving me was pure." "It's not pure." I looked up at Easton and said earnestly, "It was a gamble, saving you in exchange for basic security within the base, like getting my sister into the logistics department." Easton looked at me intently, his interest piqued. I knew he was intrigued by me. Easton gave me a purified crystal core. As I was leaving, I asked Easton, "If Miss Georgia finds out I came from your room, do you think she'll have me killed?" Before Easton could reply, I opened the door and left. Finding Donovan and my sister waiting outside, Donovan mentioned they all lived in this building and handed me a communication device for easier contact in the future. I became a member of the Y-Base's 2nd Army, with Donovan as the captain. Later, I went out to the front line daily. Outbreaks of zombie waves and other viral mutations were reported elsewhere, making it increasingly dangerous outside. A research institute was attacked, a professor and several apprentices went missing. They were key figures in the research on a zombie virus serum. Easton quickly assembled an elite team to search and rescue them. I was also part of that rescue team, as my supernatural abilities, especially my ice sword technique, grew stronger, making me almost as powerful as Donovan. I became the vice captain of the 2nd Army. Everyone thought I had dual water and ice abilities, but in reality, my psychic abilities were growing stronger, a fact even my sister didn't know. Georgia had strong objections to my participation in the rescue team. I remained dignified and ignored her provocations. Now, many in the base spoke up for me, criticizing Georgia's excessive behavior behind her back. We arrived at the last known location of the old professor and found his communication device. We then split up in the area to continue the search. I entered a cave and noticed signs of a recent fire. As I examined the area, I suddenly felt someone approaching. Turning around abruptly, I saw Georgia, her face expressionless and cold, standing alone. Perfect. I had been waiting for her for a long time. For this day, I had carefully planned for a long time, subtly provoking Easton and openly showing my affection for him. Yet, I always withdrew at critical moments. Easton, maintaining a passive stance, sometimes responded to my advances. He seemed aware of the rivalry between Georgia and me. The drama of two women vying for one man amused him. My provocations had even caused Georgia to soften her fiery temper, revealing her vulnerability in front of him. The once proud and aloof Wild Rose now appeared heartbroken and pitiful for him. I asked Georgia nonchalantly, "What brings you here? Found any clues? Don't think I don't know about your blatant seduction of Easton. Easton is my fiancé. How dare you mess with him?" She retorted. "Genevieve, does your mouth stink because you've been eating crap?" I snapped back, stunned. Georgia lunged at me, her fire abilities manifesting as a dragon spewing flames towards me. Georgia's fire powers were strong, seemingly growing stronger. I recalled they weren't this potent initially. I conjured a water dragon to shield myself, preventing my hair from getting singed. Dropping the act, "Tell me, did you kill Easton and Elias?" she demanded. "I don't know what you're talking about, Genevieve. I don't even know the people you're mentioning. You're still playing dumb. Easton and Elias clearly went to sea that day. Have you been hiding your true strength? Easton's abilities are strong. Elias couldn't possibly kill him. So what if I killed them? Do you have the face to ask? If you hadn't sent them to assassinate me, would I have acted? We have no grievances. Why would you send someone to kill me? I was merely defending myself. You're indeed hiding your strength. Don't falsely accuse me. It was your seductive ways that lured Elias. He wanted to have an affair with you outside. Sensing again that no one else was nearby and Easton wasn't there, I knew I didn't need to hold back anymore. It was time to kill her. I immediately unleashed my psychic powers, enveloping Georgia with an overwhelming force. Watching her confused and panicked expression, I smirked. This is what you call hiding true strength. Understand, Easton, save me, as Georgia screamed for help. I was taken aback when her communication device fell out. Still flashing, she had been in contact with Easton all along. I grabbed Georgia, preventing her from escaping the cave. Today, no matter what, I was determined to end her. My psychic powers suppressed Georgia's abilities. I drew the knife Donovan had initially given to my sister and stabbed Georgia repeatedly. The rusty, dull knife became incredibly sharp in my hands. I also hypnotized Georgia, making her unleash her fire abilities on herself. When Easton burst into the cave, Georgia was already barely alive. Stop. A larger and fiercer fire dragon than Georgia's attacked me, engulfing my water dragon and burning me severely. Easton, she tried to kill me multiple times. I was just defending myself. If you dare hurt her, I'll kill you, he threatened. Easton embraced Georgia, intent on dealing me a deadly blow. I couldn't hold back any longer and had to fight Easton with all my might. I put all my effort into creating an illusion to control Easton, making him strike Georgia down with a final blow. Despite his struggle, Easton looked at me with widened eyes and exclaimed, You have psychic powers. Oops, looks like I've been discovered, I quipped. But today, both of you will die here. The Rose of Jing Circle and the Prince of Jing Circle. What a perfect match. In what era are you still called a prince? I'll send you both back to ancient times to play your roles as prince and princess. Before my psychic powers were depleted, I used my telekinesis to kill Easton and Georgia. I didn't use water or ice powers, the abilities I'm most known for. Even if their bodies are discovered later, no one will suspect me, after all, especially Easton. His power level had reached the 7th tier. In this post-apocalyptic world, the highest is only the 9th tier, and it's said that only 4 people have reached that level. Unfortunately, I am cursed with a terrifying psychic ability. Every day, I consume zombie nuclei, having long mastered the ability to harness their energy without any side effects. Deep within the cave, there's another opening that leads to a cliff. I threw Easton off the cliff, then swiftly carried Georgia's body to another location and discarded it in the wilderness. I destroyed their communication devices and tossed them off the cliff as well. With no leader at Base Y, I intend to take over as the new leader. Following the trail left in the cave, my persistence finally paid off when I found an old professor and his disciple, who seemed like cave dwellers from a mountaintop. I escorted them down the mountain and managed to get in touch with Donovan. Donovan reported that they had encountered 2 level 7 zombies, resulting in many injuries and the zombies escaping. A level 7 zombie would be perfect for me to practice on. By killing these 2 zombies, I can secure my position as the leader. Everyone was thrilled when I rescued the old professor, indicating our mission was a success. The disciple, a space manipulator, had stored all the research data and serums in his spatial domain. When asked about Easton and Georgia, I claimed I hadn't seen them. The priority was to get the professor safely back to the base. Once back, I took a good bath and noticed Donovan contacting someone higher up. I learned that Base Y is officially under the jurisdiction of the Imperial Capital Base. Although not the largest, Base Y is the most prominent base in the vicinity of El City, especially since I rescued the professor. I became a central figure in this mission, after Donovan reported back. He mentioned the disappearance of Easton and Georgia. Consequently, Donovan temporarily took charge of Easton's elite team to restart the search for them. Everyone speculated that they might have encountered a level 7 zombie and could be hiding somewhere. Although Donovan was in temporary command, I was implicitly recognized as the leader, as in this post-apocalyptic world, strength rules. And I had surpassed Donovan in power. My sister has been doing exceptionally well in the logistics department. Winning over everyone in the first, second, and third warehouses, she improved significantly after consuming 2 zombie nuclei I gave her, but since she has no special abilities and took a long time to adapt, I hesitated to give her more. Even without abilities, she's now considered skilled among the non-powered. She has made many good friends and often secretly helps some of the vulnerable women in the base. I have also been performing commendably on the front lines. Growing stronger in everyone's eyes, during a mission with Donovan to find Easton, we encountered a level 7 zombie. I unleashed incredible power, killing the zombie and extracting a massive nucleus. Eventually, we found Easton's body by a river, next to another level 7 zombie, the same one Donovan's team had encountered. Yes, I killed that zombie too. I found it at night, killed it, and placed its body next to Easton's. This provided a closure to Easton's death. He died fighting the level 7 zombie alone, achieving a mutual destruction. Nearby, we found George's body. Clearly, Easton had tried to protect her, urging her to run while he faced the zombie alone, but Georgia didn't escape and died from severe injuries. With Easton's death causing unrest in the base, I took firm control of the situation. Donovan reported their deaths and proposed that I be appointed the new base leader. Donovan has now become my ally and is fully supportive of me. He reported my great achievements one by one, and I also attended a meeting with the senior executives at the Imperial Capital Base. Ultimately, they decided to appoint me as the new leader. On my first official day as the leader of Base Y, sitting in what used to be Easton's office, someone suddenly knocked on the door. Donovan entered with a grave expression. "Haley, people from the Imperial Capital Base have arrived. Chi Jinyu, Shin Zifeng, and Genevieve, Chi." The same Chi that Donovan used to call Brother Chi. I didn't get a clear look at his face, but a fleeting glimpse was enough to see his extraordinary handsomeness, leaving an indelible mark in my heart. It still sends my thoughts racing to this day. Chi Jinyu and Shin Zifeng are among the 4 strongest individuals in the post-apocalyptic world, each having reached the 9th tier of special abilities. Easton is Shin Zifeng's cousin, and Georgia is Genevieve's cousin, from Donovan's tone. I sensed that the visitors might be harboring ill intentions. Could it be that Donovan is also doubting me? I stood up, smiling calmly and breezily. "Let's go, Donovan, let's welcome them."